Good afternoon, gamers. We are here today to watch the set from SCL, Kappa Corp versus the Banished, who's going to take it in a best of three. Well, that's what we're going to find out. Here today, I'm joined by Pepper. He's going to be
Hello.
joining me as a chair two, and spectating is going to be Ryu. Glad to have you guys. Pepper, how's your day going, man? It's midday through Friday, and we're just chilling.
It's been going pretty good. I played some Smite already, had some success.
Perfect. That's what we like to hear. Whenever we're having a good game, everyone's enjoying themselves. So hopefully we have some good matches here so that everyone can enjoy. I don't really know too much. I have played in SCL, but I'll be honest, I am usually brain turned off when I am playing, especially when I'm in the ADC role. So I don't know too much about these players, but I know Pepper, you said earlier when we were talking together that you have played in this set, so you can probably give me some insight on some of these players, can you?
I can definitely give some on the Kappa Corp team. I can't say that I knew the other players before the set.
Okay, yeah,
Um,
any information is honestly good to know.
you want like a rundown of who's playing what in the playstyles, or what you're
Yeah, and
looking for?
give me like who should we be looking out for essentially? Like who should I be looking into? Like who is that one guy that like, fear this guy if he's on this god or even on the enemy team like, oh, this guy plays this god or role very well, just watch out for this. Maybe they'll be making big plays type thing.
Uh, well, one of the nice things I can say about our team is that all of us are pretty competent for our skill level, so we don't really have that one win con player, that one carry. It really depends on the team comp we draft around.
Yeah,
Um,
that's very nice for a team, honestly. Just having that trust in everyone, not having to put all your weight on one person. It's
mhm.
honestly very nice having that, especially when everyone's on the same page and you, as you said, draft a proper team comp, which that is what Smite is all about. It's a team game focusing on grouping up, fighting, and objectives to, at the end of the day, kill the Titan and take the victory.
The other team, I will say you're going to want to look out for the jungler this set. He seems to be some of their biggest presence. Uh, they tend to draft their comps around it, pick his pick pretty late, and yeah, he kind of does a lot of the work for them.
Okay, so the enemy jungler kind of like is that guy that can make or break a play essentially on the banished side of the group.
Mhm.
So basically, he's as you said, he makes or break plays. So we're probably going to be seeing some global ultimates like the Thor and the Rat coming through, or one of those good team fighting ultimates, more like a Hunbats or a single target like in a Wheelix type thing.
Um, I believe that he plays both of them pretty well. You'll have to wait for picks and bans to see which one he goes for.
Okay, so let's get right into the picks and bans then. We got a little bit of information on both Kappa Corp and the Banished. Um, so definitely we're gonna try and jump into this and see what these team comps are, and then go into game number one. Mm. Okay, I'll definitely let them know. I don't know, babe. Okay, so it appears to be some technical difficulties. Game one is not able to be replayed, and it looks like game two requires a password. It looks like whoever set up this spectate kind of set up a password without letting us know. This is going. Okay, it's SCL. Who would have thought? Nope, that is unfortunate. It is looking some technical difficulties here. Um, some information would be great to be given, but hey, that's what a corporation is, right? Not everyone gets all the information. That's how employees work. We got to move up the ladder and ask the next guy. So basically, while we're sitting here, game one was not able to be played, which is unfortunate. I heard game one was a quick match. Who won game one here, Pepper? How did it go?
Uh,
Apparently, it was really quick.
Game one was a hard win by the Banished.
Oh, they just swept right through, did they?
Yeah, it was a really rough one. We picked a mom on jungle, which is kind of a make or break pick, and this was not a make game. Um, yeah, we picked an Opwash solo, which I believe they picked a Thor jungle and camped the solo side and kept him out of the game. So going into those mid game fights, we really struggled to like have any impact on them.
Okay, so it was that global pressure from the Thor, as you were saying, this jungle being able to rotate and just capitalize on either getting himself fed or getting his teammate fed, essentially.
Hmm.
Okay, so that's definitely, as you said, Maman is a very strong character and definitely is a make or break character. So especially if she does fall behind. I feel like she does not really do too much, especially in these team fights with how close all her abilities are. Doesn't have really the great amount of poke, but can shred tanks, unlike other assassins. That is one of her great key points. So definitely, yeah, as game one, as you said, just getting that Thor fed and the soul laner ahead, just kind of camping on Outwash can make or break a game, definitely. So you're gonna have to see game two on how it goes. Okay. So sorry about this, folks. We're just slowly trying to reach out to the enemy team for them having to set up a password to spectate. Um, Very awkward, you know. I'm not really seeing many people set up passwords for spectating. Um,
Maybe
Definitely
they're
is a little weird.
maybe they're worried about people figuring out their trade secrets.
I guess, but that doesn't also stop people from streaming it on Twitch, so to speak, whether or not they're
True.
actually gaming, right? So, um, definitely a little weird here. Game one, it looks like we got our coming up. Oh, look at that. Game one worked. Don't know
Well,
what
now
was
everyone
the
knows what
difference.
happened, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, we don't get too much of comp though. We do know that an Outposh Thor get through and that Thor sits on this solo lane. We can see what happens in this solo lane, what actually happens. Where ward's an issue, were they invading a little too much, what are the bans that come out, all this stuff. So it looks like the Kappa Corp are getting second pick and the Banished is getting first pick going into this. Looks like the Banish really don't want to deal with that Ganesh. That was a quick snap lock ban, and Kappa Corp with their snap lock ban as well on the Poseidon. Really, two very dominating gods in this meta right now that are just very strong. Poseidon solo lane and the Ganesh in the support. Tell me, like, do you think this Ganesh ban is really worthy of a first ban?
Uh, I don't think it's bad. I think if you're planning on playing gods that are easily countered by it, like if you're gonna try and play for a Mammon or an Athena, I think it's not bad. Another thing is that our backup support Hunter, his best god by far is Ganesha. So if they looked at a few of our games, they might have banned that specifically because of him.
Which is honestly great, doing your homework before jumping into the game. But it looks like Hunter isn't being played, but still, banning that Ganesh opens up a lot of jungle god pool, the
Hmm.
ability-based gods, right? The Susano, the Ratatoskr, the Lancelot, the Thor, as we said earlier. But it looks like Morgan Le Fay being banned out by Kappa Corp. Rygent being banned out by Banished, and same with the Chernobog. With our last ban being Rat, I like all these bans. I'm not too sure about the Raijin ban. Raijin got hit by a couple of nerfs. I believe there are much better bans other than that, but it looks like the first pick is gonna be Athena. Athena, a very strong god. Was Kappa Corp just not worried about this global pressure?
Well, we specifically set it up so that we would get two of the three good gods that were up between Athena, Maman, and Wash. Uh,
Ah, I see.
Reasoning that the pressure from the Wash and the team fights and the pressure from the Maman would counteract the Athena.
Makes sense, makes sense. Hopefully we can just blow people up before the Athena does get there for that defender of Olympus, that mitigations and movement speed now. Mind you, it is getting nerfed next patch, but it's still a very strong ult
Hmm.
right now. As you said, the Mammon and Alposh, two very strong gods, as we were talking about earlier. Alposh, just brings that sustain, brings great area pressure, great poke, everything that you would want from a mid laner or even a solo, because solo is good at making that space. And Mammon, as we said earlier, a very strong god if she can get ahead, but if she falls behind, it's gonna be a rough game. So great pickup by Kappa Corp, honestly, and let's see how the Banish kind of go here. And they will actually go for the Thor hovering over this. And if I was the Banish, I'd probably pick up my mid laner or even ADC, whereas there's still a lot of good gods on the board.
Yeah, I was gonna say I really hoped that I remembered correctly, and it appears I did not. So, a little bit of a surprise that they have a Bastet.
Okay, yeah, no, Bastet, still a strong god, still a-okay. A little questionable as we did see there was Thor on the board and the Thoth being locked in shortly after. I'm surprised Bastet got picked up, especially if you're banning the Ganesh. The Ganesh always hard counters Thor. Whenever you see a Thor, you hope the enemy team doesn't have a Ganesh. So seeing a Ganesh ban usually means the enemy team wants Thor, but a Bastet in jungle to counter the Mammon. That's a little weird. I do like someone trying to cook, but I have to definitely see it myself. And Thoth, a very strong mid laner though. Great poke, great secure on objectives, very strong mid lane pressure. I really like the pick right now. And then Kappa Corp actually opting for the Ishtar ADC. Tell me a bit of the Ishtar pick. Why go for Ishtar here? There are other picks like let's say On Her or X Ball for the lights out.
It's some solid lane pressure with the amazing clear. It's relatively safe. It's got the good dash, the human ult, and speaking of the ult, the cripple and the stun are really good into the Bastet, and the Athena and the Thoth. It helps with some counter dive, maybe get a kill on the jungler if she's not careful.
Yeah, everyone always forgets about that Ishtar having that cripple on the first throw of her ult. It is a very strong ability, definitely. Don't really have to hit the stun. The stun's just a bonus, but definitely that first hit cripple can screw over a Bastet if she really wants to jump. If she jumped in already and she's trying to jump back, it's very good here. But going on to the bans, it looks like the Banish are gonna ban out the Baba Yaga and Khepri, whereas Kappa Corp go for the Nike and On Her. I really like the Baba Yaga ban. Baba Yaga is really strong, great at stacking items. Even though she got a small little tiny nerf, it doesn't really affect her. And the Khepri, considering they don't want to go for those executes and they have a Bastet, Khepri a really strong support. And then the Nike in the solo lane being banned out, and this On Her, as I was saying, the pressure, the damage on the tanks is a very scary pick. So banning out those two gods, understandable, 100%. But it looks like we pick up Nox here. Don't really see too much Nox. It's more of like a budget Ganesh, would you say?
Uh, I can't say that I agree. I think that while the Nox and the Ganesh do have silences, I think they function in different ways. The Nox is a lot better at locking down a specific person, whereas the Ganesha is better at defending a specific person. So I think it's all about play style.
Okay, so you're gonna say Nox is more of the aggressive type, whereas Ganesh is more of a defensive type.
Yeah, I think you hit the ult, I think you hit the bubble and the root, and then that person, unless they have beads, they're not going anywhere and they're probably dead, even if it's a tank.
Sounds good. Sounds good. So it's more of a high execute looking like what we're going to try and do, which the Sun Wukong and Donzan Burrow going to be locked in for the Banished side. Sun Wukong, very safe god, very annoying to deal with, getting into that somersault cloud and healing up a lot of that damage. Picking it into an Alpwash, which isn't too bad, honestly, considering he can't be stunned when he gets up into that somersault cloud. Doesn't really get applied by anti-heal because there's no anti-heal on Alpwash 3, just hits you with that stun. And Donzenborough getting picked up after, which is a surprise for me. Not really a strong ADC. There are, in my opinion, much better picks. So seeing a Donza being picked up, mind you, it was bottom picks, but still very confusing for me. Don't really see too much of them. And when I do see much of them, they don't really do too much, or they pop off because they're fed, one of the two. But Kappa Corp following up with a Persephone pick. I like Persephone. I love Persephone. Great pick all in all. I just feel she's not that strong in this meta. There's just so many gods that have that CC immune ult that get kind of out of that cage, and then even so there's a lot of relics up and all that, but I love Persephone. The damage she does, the presence she gives, the poke everything about her, I love. I just wish it was a Persephone meta. So what's going on with this Persephone pick here on the Kappa Corp side? What was the idea behind it?
Well, you say it's not Persephone meta, but I kind of disagree. She got some recent buffs. Her damage numbers went up a little bit. And she has a lot of utility between the range on the Flower Rush, the fact that she has a leap instead of a dash, so she can immune any sort of like Bastet ult or Thoth ult. On top of that, it's great into the Nox and into the Ishtar because they're great setup for the ult as well as the other ability damage. So I think it's great peel. I think it's good safety. I don't know. I think it's a little underrated.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. No, that we're gonna see exactly what's gonna happen here in game number one, the Banished versus Kappa Corp. We're gonna see how this game goes, just exactly as you said. Hopefully, this Persephone will be able to capitalize on this Nox grabbing somebody, or maybe this Ishtar, or maybe she will set up the fights, as you said. This Bastet's gonna have to bring pretty good pressure into the game, definitely with how the Kappa Corp have drafted. They drafted very good for the late game and decent for the early game with the Mammon. So definitely, if it goes to late, Kappa Corp can bring it back with the Alpwash, the Ishtar, and the Persephone. Very strong triple backline, but is this Banished with a very strong front line with Athena, Sun Wukong, and Bastet diving them? That's what we're going to find out here. And starting this off, what do you think about these builds? I believe I saw Sun Wukong going Bluestone into T1 Pestilence, maybe even a what is that item called here again?
A talisman,
Could be a Talisman of Energy, it could be a Heart Ward,
absolution.
it could be Absolution, it could be any of those four, honestly. But I usually see a lot of these solo laners go for like a Genji start compared to this.
Yeah, I think he's very much going to be lacking in the MP5 and in the cooldowns department. But if what he's worried about is the healing from the Opwash with picking up the corpses and also the meta lifesteal build that is currently in play, I can see why he would think it's a good pickup. It's also got extra prots and it's got health on top of that, so it's also just tankier.
That is definitely understandable, you know. Also, this is a four magical comp he's going into, so he is going to be leaning into that magical defense very heavily. Definitely going to have to see how this build turns out. That was just the one thing I was kind of scratching my head on, wasn't too sure, but definitely if he wants to go for that extra health and definitely more protections, we can see how this goes. But we're just gonna go into these basic. Everyone's clearing our camps, not too much. Looks like triple camps are gonna be going over for the Banished side. Definitely have the Ishtar, definitely have that Nox to double hit with that dash. Very nice, very strong. clear coming out. But otherwise, we're going pretty slow here. Looks like mid lane is going to be meeting up here very soon as the Banisher just cleared their red buff and make it to mid lane first.
I'm curious. It says the yellow buff is still up. Is that because the buff is still on the ground? Or was a minion miss?
You mean for Kappa Corp side?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, for the Kappa Corp side, you can't see it because we're on order. But if you can see on order side, the speed buff, like the icon is still there, but the buff is dropped. It's hovering. So it will show if the buff is there only if order has dropped it.
Mid lane, Kappa Corp has some pressure. The best that's looking a little low. Thoth taking some poke damage from the Mammon, but taking damage from minions in return. Fairly even trade. It doesn't there's a lot of kill pressure on either side.
Yeah, definitely. Thoth hitting 3 there could have been some decent kill pressure, but actually opted just for the safe secure on the wave and clearing the wave. Kind of dropping the kill on the Mammon. I think he definitely could have been a little bit more aggressive there as they did hit 3 first. But definitely going here and just kind of giving up those right side pressures to get that mid pressure to rotate in the left side. A little bit more safe, a little bit more viable, as some would say. And it looks like Kappa Corp do end up getting the shield buff before the Bastet rotation, which is very good for this duo lane. 2-man splitting it instead of 3-man splitting. This is great when you're in a duo lane, honestly. But it looks like Bastet's going to try and come in here for a gank. I believe they were seen on a ward, playing a little bit safe by the Kappa Corp. Trying to look for an Athena taunt here. Dash is pretty far, catches the dash onto the Ishtar. Bastet still debating to go in, goes in, good damage onto this Ishtar. Ishtar has to beads to get away, jumps to get in, misses the jump by Bastet, which is just unfortunate. Nox and Ishtar slowly getting out kind of for free. Just had to expend beads, and it looks like nothing else to be afraid of. Bastet kind of just lurking in the jungle still, maybe to looking for an invade. Mammon getting some pretty good farm for herself. Doesn't have to worry about too much here as her dual lane does get to live. It looks like the enemy dual lane on Banished side is going to be just opting for that own buff clear, whereas Bastet's trying to look for that invade by themselves. Could get caught out, but it looks like they actually opted for not going for it. So, whereas solo lane fight, Sun Wukong kind of found that Mammon and ends up killing it in a 1v2 and secures his own blue buff. Who is this Sun Wukong? Put him on the MVP table. Great defense by this guy. Gets his blue buff, hits that level 5. Looks like he expended the ult just to get the kill. Just maybe, not too sure. Couldn't catch that fight, which is a little unfortunate, but that's okay. First Blood opting for the solo laner of the Banished.
Great play by the Wukong. Good of him to recognize his own damage and the fact that he had a kill there even in the off wash. On top of that, securing his own buff is huge because of the extra gold and XP. He's not going to fall behind from the off wash's pressure.
Definitely. We're going to have to be watching out for this Sun Wukong and just make sure that he doesn't get a little too big. Definitely going to have to look out for this. We do have an outwash though, whereas the sustain is going to come out from him and the pressure from lane will be very nice. Definitely looking for a gank here over on the duo side. Kappa Corp has their Mammon here. Doesn't really look like anything's going to be happening though. Kind of checking over for buffs, still making sure that the gank still looks okay. Banished don't seem like they know. Mammon's coming in. Great blink, good silence, but great beads coming out by the Donzenbro. And Athena getting caught out here, having to use Shell. Gets eaten by the Nox ult. Nox tanking a tower damage for the Mammon, but a little bit too much damage by the Donzenbro. Ends up killing the Nox. Athena just lives on that 1 HP. Bastet's here. Athena back, comes in with the ult. Triple hit onto this Ishtar. Ishtar falls. And going to the Bastet. Oh, and Mammon gets taunted back in. This is a reverse gank by the Banished. Just staying a little too late after their Nox has died. Definitely Ishtar being a little greedy there. Not having their beads back up. And Banished kind of capitalizing on that by staggering their CC onto the Ishtar. Just a little Unfortunate misplay by Kappa Corp, but great capitalization by the Banished.
That Athena taunt, as Maman went in, was clean. Great peel. That in combination with the beads means that the Valkyrie took very little damage and was able to get the return kills once Bastet followed up.
Great play altogether. An unfortunate event for Kappa Corporation, but definitely a clean play by the Banished. Kappa Corp might have to either slow down their play and maybe counter gank some situations, or maybe just try and engage a little bit more, trying to look for picks, knowing that the ADC beads are down, but we just got Thoth beads as well. So definitely the mid and the ADC on the Banished side are going to have to play just a little bit more careful. Definitely they do, though, have an Athena taunt to help out.
That's some damage on the off wash. Is it enough? The best that's coming in. They might be going for a tower dive kill here, especially with that Wukong ult.
Wukong ult missing its mark, hitting the one. Basta comes in for the clean, definitely low HP. Good cleanup by this Bastet. Bastet looking really strong right now in this jungle. Great pickup. I'm surprised, honestly. Like I said earlier into this stream, into this cast, is that I wanted to see this Bastet kind of give that pressure to all lanes. Trying to see if she can give that a little bit more in this fight compared to a Mammon. Nox getting a good silence and hold on to it. Athena taunting a Persephone. Just looks like Banished are on different targets right now. Kind of get Nox ult a little for free. Thoth trying to charge his ult, maybe looking to scare the enemy at the time. But it looks like they're just going to opt for the left mids. Kind of just all over the place, just on different targets by the Banished. A little awkward getting Bastet ulting the Nox and the Athena taunting the Persephone. A little awkward there in that engagement.
Yeah, this mid fight is a little bit hard for both teams to engage on. Thought's dash is very long, and the leap from Persephone gets out of a lot of CC and engage from the jungler and support. A well-timed taunt could get a kill, same for a combo from the Nox, but ultimately I don't think much is going to happen here.
Definitely, you're gonna see how this mid lane fight goes. Definitely, since Thoth beads are still down for 1 minute, and it looks like Donza kind of got his beads back for free. I don't know if we just did not capitalize on this timer, or we were just otherwhere else. It looks like Ishtar kind of spots this out, getting taunted by the Athena. Athena dashing in and using that taunt. Athena might get caught out here. Mammon is here to kind of clean it up. Bastet with the counter rotation. Donzaburo coming out with the ult, hits the Mammon and cleans up with that damage. Insane counter gank. It's always the counter gank happening by the Banished. I don't know if they're not seeing on these wards here, Kappa Corp, but this Bastet is kind of just walking in for free here. It is a little unfortunate happening here, and it looks like a purple buff invade does come through, and it goes the side of the Banished. Ishtar kind of getting left hung and dry here by Kappa Corp. It's a little unfortunate with these rotations, just having a 3-man rotation, especially with this Athena, can be anywhere. She does have that ult, which is very scary, so if she is in left lane, she can appear in right lane anytime. Definitely good teamwork and maybe great comms coming out from the Banished here.
It looks like the Wukong did opt for the Pestilence. And it appears the Athena is going to do the same, although I hope there's a hurt word.
Definitely, as double pestilence isn't the greatest, as they do not stack, but it could definitely be a hard word, as this is a 4-man magical comp. They do have to be careful here, as these tanks are going to get very tanky here, and unless we get some really good HP damage items, not much was going to happen to these tanks. These tanks might even go undead, honestly, but it looks like another gank happening over in the right side. Get a great stun. Sun Wukong going into the ult. Bastet ult missed. Sun Wukong ult missed as well. Sun Wukong really wants his kill. Gets stunned by the Alpwash 3 and gets killed by the Alpwash. Just tanking that tower a little too much. He has so much magical defense and no physical. These towers hard physical damage. He definitely does have to be careful. Whereas a gank coming in over onto the duo side, Athena ult is used, Mama and ult is used, Athena ult is used, everyone's ult is used over on this left lane, but Donza still gets the solo kill onto the Ishtar. Maman tries to peel for it, but just not enough damage coming onto this Donzenburo. This Donzenburo is pretty fed right now. Still ends up staying because a little greedy. Maman has to be careful though, blinking into two people. Doesn't have the damage just yet as her stacks aren't finished on that Book of Thoth. Might get caught out by this Athena taunt as her blink has been used, and it looks like she did. Just has to be careful here. Dodge and weave does not happen. Ends up falling to the Donzenburo. Donzenburo 5-0-1. This man is a fed menace. Definitely have to be careful from this guy. He's up by a full item on this Ishtar. He already has the Executioner. Doesn't even opt for the crit with how fed he is. Alpashal does come out just for the lane clear. Looks like Alpash is kind of just out of mana. Doesn't look like he wants to fight a little too much. Does have level 12. Definitely wants to get that second relic. But that gank over in the dual lane was very well timed by the Banished.
Yeah, they appear to have a good team presence. They're warding pretty heavily. Athena looks like she's alone and caught out, but the tank stats are too strong, especially with that heart word that she has finished. That heart word is going to do a lot of work in this beacon fight coming up in 20 seconds. Probably going to help save a few lives.
Definitely, definitely. See, as Kappa Corp right now, I already know that you were in this game, but in your opinion, what should Kappa Corp do here? Definitely to try and make their way back into the game, as they are about 3k gold down.
Well, I think grouping up for the buff secures for those purples and those greens, because it appears that the blue isn't being stolen much. This Ishtar needs to get back in the game. The Ishtar farm with the prop buff, maybe invade a purple or two, secure a gold fury. Help shut down a kill on this Danza. It'll do a lot. It'll set up to the beacon. And by proxy, it'll get the support, the mid, and the jungle back into the game as well.
Great team fight coming out by the Banish, and Thoth actually getting the cleanup kill onto the Mammon and then onto the Persephone. It looks like the Kappa Corp kind of started that fight there going on to the Athena, but Athena, as you said, just being a little too tanky with that Godlet of Thebes and Heart Ward coming out, just on a couple of different targets. Again, just unfortunate by the Nox, missing that kind of grab onto that Thoth there was Mammon went in and then changed targets onto the Athena, whereas the Nox didn't have any abilities by the time they swapped targets. It was a great Persephone ult coming through, but just not enough. And Ishtar ending up rotating in, losing her T1 tower, and kind of a bit of farm. Could have got the back camps to herself, could have got a lane, didn't have to lose that T1 tower, and they end up losing mid T1 tower as well to Thoth. Just kind of looking like it's slowly being a Banished type game. As long as they kind of keep up this momentum, this could be definitely game one. Kappa Corp do have to be careful and kind of have to play, I think, a little bit slower, and I think the counter engaging would be a lot better here for them. We are engaging a lot, and it's not looking too hot. Definitely with Mammon being down 2 levels on this Bastet at 13 minutes. It is very unfortunate. It does have to get their stacks online on this Thoth. Does have to be careful, but Bastet, with being how fed she is, does end up for second item Transcendence. How do you feel about second item Transcendence in the jungle?
Honestly, I don't think it's great. Like, I respect the effort. You're ahead. You want the stacking item for the extra power, but it puts you at 30% cooldown with the Jotuns, which means that with when you eventually get Red Pot, you're going to overcap because she opted for Boombas. On top of that, you can't get an Erendite, you can't get a Soul Eater, which is very good on the Bastet, and you can't get a Hydra's either without overcapping cooldown. Frankly, I think you have to choose between Trans or Jotun.
Definitely. You do have to be careful with all this cooldown reduction. There are a lot of great items that have that stat on them, where it looks like this fight over in mid lane is happening. Donzenbro does kind of rotate, kind of is fed level 15, and Thoth level 15, two of the highest levels in this game. Looks like they're going to try and force out this Alpwash. Gets Persephone ult and Alpwash ult, and it looks like they're going to be using the Sun Wukong and Donzamburo ult. Gonna have to be careful here as the Bastet is a little weak. Defender of Olympus does come out onto the Sun Wukong, and they do get the kill onto Alpwash. It looks like the Banished now see that Kappa Corp did take the dual lane tower, so it looks like they're going to back up to this Pyromancer. Thoth gets blinked on onto Mammon, but great Tiger Stun coming out by the Sun Wukong. Mammon taking a little bit too much damage, and it looks like the Pyromancer does end up going to the Banished. Honestly, in the beginning of that fight, I thought it was a little bit too aggressive going in on here, but it looks like Athena is going to want to try and continue this fight. Ends up getting the beads onto the Persephone, and now Persephone, without that ult, without that beads, is available for another Athena taunt into death. Just has to use that Aegis as her defense here. Definitely a fight that went very well for the Banished. I originally, like I said earlier, I thought that was a little bit too much of an engagement there. I thought they were chasing a bit far into the T2 tower, but it looks like when you have a lead, you can walk anywhere you want.
Yeah, another thing that's having an impact on these fights is the Thoth. The range, the damage, and just the consistency. He's building triple flat pen, and he is just pumping numbers downrange from a very safe distance as well. There's not a lot that Kappa Corp can do to compete with that.
Definitely, as they opted for the Persephone, which doesn't really have too much range except for autoing attacking or jumping onto her flowers. That does have a decent bit of range, but not that great of poke as a Thoth one does. Thoth one just smacks really hard compared to these Persephone plants that only really hit hard the first tick. After those ticks, the damage is reduced by 80% or 70%, mind you. It is a very big damage reduction. Do have to be careful for that, and definitely, as you said, going for the double or triple flat pen. Alpwash kind of getting ganked here, getting the Bastet ult and the Sun Wukong ult, dropping his own ult to try and live. Bastet Tiger goes on, but it looks like Bluestone's going to end up taking the kill onto this Alpwash, just kind of getting camped by this Bastet. Bastet's in a rough spot here, does have to be careful with their positioning, but it looks like Persephone just on a whole different target. Looking at this Sun Wukong, and it looks like Bastet just kind of gets out for free. Kappa Corp just not on the same targets right now. I understand the Sun Wukong is low, and so is the Bastet, but definitely have to make sure that they're on the same targets if they're going to have to kill somebody. It looks like this Ishtar, though, is doing some decent damage to this Athena. Athena doesn't really have much physical defense, just finally got their physical defense from Contagion. Again, Contagion and Pestilence don't really stack, so do have to be careful about how they're positioning themselves if they want that max coverage of anti-heal going on.
You asked me about what Kappa Corp can do to get back in the game, and right here is a prime example. They are coordinated, they're grouping up on the beacon, they're not stepping up too far, getting caught up by the Athena taunt. I think that's what they have to do. Ward up the Gold Fury. I don't think Fire Giant is a massive concern at the current moment, but good to have it anyway, given the lead that the Banished have. But I think contesting this Gold Fury, trying for a steal with the Nox ult, I think they gotta do something.
Definitely. I think Kappa Corp do have to attempt for steals, not really go for these team fights as they are about 4k down here. As you said, Nox ult just come through, doesn't quite get the timing, just a split second off. Definitely could have almost stolen that, but it looks like Sun Wukong is going to opt to TP to defend his tier 1 tower. If this doesn't spell solo lane, I don't know what does. Does about half his health with his full kit, and Sun Wukong doesn't look like he's going to end up giving up this kill. Definitely wants it. Does have to be careful though with the Mammon with the counter gank. Good damage onto the Alpwash, but Sun Wukong does have to have his ult forced out. Does have to be careful here as he doesn't really have anyone on his team near him, but he does have an Athena ult, which comes down, giving him those mitigations, doing a lot of damage onto this Alpwash. Athena ult taunt missing, or mind you, wasn't even used, actually was a bait the whole time, and Alpwash ending up losing his ult and his beads, and then the Mammon kind of holding that ult off, kind of just the Athena was like, I'm out, good luck, and great disengage, honestly, by Kappa Corp, kind of understanding and respecting that these two tanks are insane right now. They're really high in level. The support is the same level as the solo laner. she can't really die unless the Ishtar is there. Does have to be careful whenever the Athena is around. Donzenborough ult hitting the wall, and Outwash kind of just ulting to say, no thank you, I'm good, I choose life. Great disengage, but it looks like T1 Tower is going to go on the way of the Banished here.
An important thing to note: both teams playing well here. The Kappa Corp haven't lost any kills in a while the Banished is doing their job to secure objectives and expand their lead as much as possible without overstepping.
Hmm.
Um, I think it's really going to come down to these mid-game fights. Who's going to get the Fire Giant? If the Banished get Fire Giant, but they lose 3 or 4 members, I think it turns in Kappa Corp's side.
Definitely, as the Banished are very high in gold, about 6k gold lead now, and there is still a lot of gold on the map. As you said, if Kappa Corp can either steal or kill them, Banished when they do get Fire Giant, if they get Fire Giant, is definitely a win. It looks like the Banished here are kind of just waiting and trying to bait out this Outwash to kind of kill him. Sun Wukong kind of opting for staying on this half HP. I wonder how much gold he has in hand, honestly. Kind of just, I guess, trying to build that, build an item right now. It looks about 2k. Outwash sitting about roughly the same. And it looks like,
That's at
Sun
least
Wukong
enough to
is
finish Genji's.
yeah, Sun Wukong ended up for getting the tier 2 Genjis, or maybe even an Onis for those mitigations, as I know a lot of mages don't like mitigations, whereas prots, they don't mind it too much. There are a lot of percent pen items, but mitigations are always the death of mages. So we'll definitely see what item this goes into. But definitely on this Kappa Corp side, kind of just securing their own farm and taking it where they can. Definitely do have to be careful though, as this Fire Giant is getting pulled by the Banished and is getting shredded pretty quickly. It is down to 60%, and Kappa Corp are slowly making their way in. Ishtar in mid lane, trying to get that little bit of farm. Just have to be careful with this. Mammon can come in with a blink ult. Fire Giant has about 10-15% left. 10%. Noxalt does come through, does not end up stealing it. Bede's Egg is coming out by the Donzum Burrow from the Ishtar ult. Ishtar ult doesn't secure it, but they do find the Thaw. Great kill onto these guys. The Persephone ult does lock in the Athena, and it looks like Basset kind of just went in to die. They're conveyor belting.
Like I said, if the Banished get the Fire Giant but lose 3 members, is it really worth it? And it looks like the answer is no. This is at least a tier 1 in the mid lane for Kappa Corp, and I suspect they have multiple options. They can push down another T2, or they can go for the Beacon or Gold Fury if they're going to choose.
Definitely was a great turnaround fight by the Kappa Corp. Just capitalizing and taking one at a time, just going from one target to the next. Actually, just everyone focusing on that one person, cleaning up the Thoth as fast as they could, focusing out this Donzenbro, making sure he has to get out. And Athena ult is going to come onto the Sun Wukong where he somersaulted down. It looks like they really want to kill this Outwash. Good knockout coming through, taunt coming in, and Outwash is down. Donza over on the side, kind of trying to look for a cleanup kill as well. Sun Wukong does have to be a little careful here. Doesn't have the ult, but opts to dash in, slowing to Donzabro. Taunt coming in, Nox ult coming through, kind of decreasing that damage, but it doesn't matter. Ishtar is stuck. Ishtar is getting Athena taunted into a Thoth ult. Does actually not hit, but does try and get the secure. Persephone falling down too. This is the Banished saying, if you wipe us on fire, we'll wipe you for the fight after. Kappa Corp kind of just being a little bit greedy, looking for the camps afterwards, whereas timers don't last too long here. We are at the 23-minute mark. They're not dead for a full minute as if this was the 30 to 40-minute marker. It looks like they do opt for this left T2. It could even be a bird, as Alpwash is the only one left to defend this bird.
It's important to note that Don Zaburo still has Fire Giant, and honestly, he's the one that matters most on because he's shredding these Phoenixes and towers. I think the Kappa Corp stayed a little too long. If they back up after getting the Oni, that's pressure to counteract the Fire Giant. They definitely saved their Phoenixes, probably all of their T2s as well. Um, Looks like for every 2 steps forward is 3 steps back.
Yeah, definitely. Kappa Corp kind of just trying to make their Trying to get that lead back, trying to make that gap just a little bit smaller after getting the 3 kills on fire, going for that middle T1 tower and then going for the Gold Fury. It looks like a pause does come through, but definitely, as we were saying for that fight, just staying a little bit too late. Everyone kind of slowly walking to the purple buff, whereas Alpwash is getting ran at. We knew the Athena ult came through. Donzenboro was off to the side, but we didn't see the Bastet or the Thoth, and they definitely did spawn in not that long ago. Definitely does have to be careful of those respawn timers when going into these fights. But Beacon is up, and as you said, it's only 2 people with Fire Giant. This Donzenboro, which is a menace right now, 7-0-3, has full build, has his starter, has his crit, just needs one more stack on that Rage, and he will be swinging. It doesn't look like the Kappa Corp opted for the anti-crit either, so he's going to be swinging on anyone.
Kappa Corp giving up the Stygian, which I believe is the correct call here for people in the mid lane and Wukong in the jungle. They would get collapsed on and blown up.
Definitely, definitely, especially as that Pyromancer sound effect went off. The good disengage double dash out was perfect. But Mon trying to get a little bit of solo farm here, which I love. The solo farm that the Mon definitely needs, and everyone trying to just farm up as best as they can, trying to take their camps, trying to take their ways, especially with these fire waves over in left. It looks like the Banished do see the Mamon in right lane and kind of ping it out, so they kind of push that mid lane and get a free T2 off of it. This isn't EFG, but they've gotten a lot of gold and increased their lead up to 10k now for the Banished. It looks like a soft defense coming out from the Kappa Corp here. Sun Wukong behind the T2, whereas 3 are in front of it. This Thoth is taking a lot of damage. Bede's Egg is coming out. Athena taunt kind of goes wrong and loses half their HP. Shell comes through. Bede's Aegis onto the Donzenboro as well, whereas this, oh my god, Ishtar just got blown up by Bastet and Thothel trying to go for the secure, and it looks like Mamon gets blown up by the bleed for Bastet, but it doesn't die, but it doesn't matter because she ends up dying to the Nox. Donzebro damage coming through, but isn't enough, ends up dying to the Alpwash. Alpwash ends up falling as well, and it looks like it's 2 versus 2, but Titans have spawned. The Banished have kind of screwed themselves over by making the Titans spawn. This is great for the Kappa Corp. Kappa Corp on these 2 gods, this Persephone and this Nox, kind of get a little bit of free farm, kind of get a little bit of breathing room, can finally defend their dual lane side. But Fire Giant is spawning up. Everyone will be back up for this Fire Giant fight, and it looks like the Banish kind of used more of their relics in that team fight than Kappa Corp.
Yeah, Kappa Corp's looking good going into this next fight. As long as they can defend and kill the Titan outside of Phoenix, I think they stand a chance to win this. Although I think the Banished probably going to make the smart call here and peel off after killing Titan and go for Fire Giant as the Dons will be back up.
Definitely, as everyone has spawned a backup, and it looks like the Chaos Titan has fallen. Order Titan still half HP. Alpwash ult does come through. It looks like they want to burn this Titan as fast as they can. They know the FG is up. Persephone is over in the dual lane. Does have to stop with these fire minions. They do have to be careful over on Kappa Corp's side, as this is going to be a 4v5. Sun Wukong kind of looking for the poke, ends up getting poked himself. Athena is here trying to secure a blue buff, which is a little awkward here. It's just a blue buff, doesn't have to worry about this too much. Ends up taking quite a bit of poke. Not too much though, as he is very tanky, as he did opt for that Oni Hunter garb.
That's a good pickup. I'm a little surprised, especially with that build, that he opted for the blue stone over the red stone. I would have expected the red stone would add some tankiness into this comp, especially because percent procs, when you're stacking up a lot of magic procs, is going to make it a lot easier to live against this team.
It looks like the Banish did catch out that Persephone onto that fire wave. It does barely save her Phoenix with just barely any health. And it looks like she's going to end up rotating, going to end up losing that dual lane Phoenix again and dropping that save. It looks like a fight is breaking out here, whereas Alpwash kind of just out of position by himself in the front trying to steal that Fire Giant. It is just regular FG, and it is not EFG. Stepping up there was just a little unfortunate for him being that out of position. It looks like Kappa Corp didn't really want to step up anymore when they noticed how low that FG was and they weren't fully grouped. Does, as I said earlier, losing that duo lane Phoenix, kind of just letting that last fire wave come through. Blink from the Mon does quite a bit of damage to this Donza and Burrow, gets his beads and his Aegis. Thoughtful coming through, does connect onto the Mon, and it looks like it's a 5v4, but the Banished are poked out a little bit. Do have to be careful here in this fight. Poking out the Persephone. Persephone beads Aegis, does come through, does die to the jump by the Bastet. Nox Silence coming through, not enough, and it looks like the Ishtar does get caught out by the Chain CC, and it looks like the Banished are on to the Titan. They are focusing this down. Titan's at 50%. Nox trying to defend this, doesn't really have too much left to do. Titan's at 10 HP. Outwash spawns, tries to ult, but it's just not enough for the Kappa Corp to defend this Titan. And game 1 goes to the Banished, 25-7. This was a great game, back and forth, good team fights, great counter ganks by both teams, and good recognition by both teams. Just unfortunate events happening for Kappa Corp here. Just doesn't seem like they were all on the same page. Definitely in the early game, it looks like they wanted to kind of aggress and be there and show their presence, but just couldn't catch the kills. It was just unfortunate timing by a few things from the Banish, just reacting on the ganks very well, and kind of this Donzenboro going unchecked. It doesn't show it from this damage, only doing 16k, but he was 8-1. He was 2 levels up on this Ishtar, and he was able to swing his weight around, dropping 8k of structure damage onto all these towers. He was there for all these pushes, all the objectives, and it was great rotations by this Donza, just being able to be that far ahead and allowed to rotate. It was just a little unfortunate on that part, but great overall. Everyone played great on this side. Kappa Corp did come back there, especially towards that mid game, recognizing where they can fight and where they can't fight, and slowly dwindling down the Banished. Game 1 though, Pepper, what are your thoughts on game 1, and what should happen for this game 2?
Yeah, one major takeaway on the side of Kappa Corp is there was just a general lack of communication you could see there. You could really notice, especially in that last fight, Opwash stepping up too far onto the Fire Giant and getting caught out when it's not EFG. Mammon blinking onto the backline, onto the Thoth and the Donza without any backup and immediately getting killed. The uncoordinated defense of that Phoenix and of the Titan in general just exemplifies a lot of the problems that happened throughout that game. And we're going to have to hope that they can work on that going into game 2. On the side of the Banished, great plays all around, a lot of jungle pressure, a lot of duo pressure. I want to note the Donza Burrow went rage, which is he was very convinced that he was going to continue getting kills, and he was right. And I hope that they can continue to use that pressure. Maybe their mentals are a little higher than the other team, and they're looking good going to game 2.
Definitely. We are going to have to see how game 2 happens. Are they going to let the Athena through again, or is Kappa Corp going to take first pick and maybe pick up this Athena? Athena brought in a lot of that global pressure, a lot of that be careful on the ganks. Then this Mammon didn't look too clean on the Kappa Corp. We are going to have to maybe see a draft swap up. Maybe 4 magical just isn't the play either. We are going to have to see that on game 2, though. We are going to take a short break and be back.
I wanna rush with you in the morning. I lit up to feel more alive. I want those eyes to never be lonely. Let's make this night the time of our lives. I wanna ride with you in the morning. I lean up to feel more alive. I want the touch to never be lonely. Let's make this night the time of our lives. Let's make this night the time of our lives. Let's make this night the time of our lives. Let's make this night the time of our lives. I wanna ride with you in the morning. I lean up to feel more alive. I want the touch to never be lonely. Let's make this night the time of our lives. I wanna ride with you in the morning. I lean up to feel more alive. I want the touch to never be lonely. Let's make this night the time of our lives.
He said, "Oh, are we back?"
Not yet. Welcome back, gamers. We are going into game 2, Kappa Corp versus the Banished. Game 1, going to the Banished, and it was a great showing by them. Game finished just before that 30-minute marker, and it was a very clean game going into game 2 with very high egos on the Banished side. Definitely going to see how these bans come in and these picks come in as we load into this.
Hopefully not too cocky. We do want to see some respectful, some competent smite here. We don't want any like a Hercules jungle shenanigans.
Definitely don't want these troll picks to come out, but hey, they just might, honestly. At the end of the day, this is a best of 3.
I hope they recognize that the game one was closer than it looked. Uh, the team fights weren't terrible on the side of Kappa Corp. There were a few good counter ganks, a few tower dives that didn't go very well for them, and so I think they gotta stick to their guns and pick their good stuff again.
Definitely, definitely. It looks like the bans are just gonna get rapid fire through as Kappa Corp kind of end up banning the Mammon the Rat and the Bastet for respect ban, whereas the Banished are just gonna opt for your basic bans, the Global Pressure from Athena and Chernobog, and the Ganesh. Definitely just a support that no one wants to deal with. The silences are very annoying as he is knockup immune out of it, and that bonus damage coming out from his one and prot shred coming from his ult, but it looks like Poseidon does end up going through, and it looks like they're gonna first pick it. But to counteract that, it looks like Morgan Le Fay is gonna get snap locked by this banished team. And how do you feel about these bans and knowing that Poseidon is most likely going to be facing this Morgan Le Fay in the solo lane?
Well, the bands I really like. El Raz Trillo in chat, complaining, completely justified about being targeted. That was our goal going into it, and so I'm glad that he felt that. This potential solo lane matchup of Morgan versus Poseidon is a good one. Poseidon, the great laning, the great farming, relatively safe with the cripple and the knockup and the speed. Um, Great secure on the objectives, but the Morgan has the self peel and the CC to have an impact on these team fights. I think both of them are great picks, and a lot of it's going to come down to how the jungles influence that lane.
Definitely. As we see a Yamoja being locked in, I'm surprised not more people are picking up this god. Yamoja is a very strong support god. She brings so much into the team fights with that wall of her ult and the stuns and the pushes and the great healing with a shield. Yamoja just brings a lot into these team fights, whereas we're gonna picking up a Cernunos over on the Kappa Corp. I can't say too much about this because I was a bit of a troll yesterday. I believe it was yesterday when I had my set, but I believe it was yesterday, and I first picked Cernunnos because we didn't know what to pick, and I'm like, screw it, get me the worst ADC in the league, get me the god. I love Cernunnos, I love him, but man, he feels so clunky into other gods. He doesn't have that lane pressure that I'd absolutely love, and it's gonna be followed up by a Geb. Again, this lane pressure is gonna be a little slow, but Geb being one of the strongest supports, I'd say he's above Yamoja on this team fight, cleansing, knockups. He brings everything to these fights. I'd say he's just under Athena, honestly. I'd say he's number two support, but once Athena ban comes, or Athena nerf coming through next week, I think Geb's going to be rising to the number one support in my eyes.
Yeah, I think the Geb is a great support pick. I like it better than the Yamoja, honestly. You said Yamoja's not picked up that much. I think a lot of people just can't hack it. There's a lot of skill involved in the Yamoja, the Omi management, the ult placement, the portal. The Geb doesn't take as much skill to pull off, and he still has a massive impact on the team fights.
Definitely a more easier god to pilot, as some would say. Whereas they do end up going for the Raijin pickup on the side of the Banished. And again, we're just rapid firing through these bans, whereas Athena Hun Bats are getting banned out by the Kappa Corp, but just scared of this jungler. And it looks like everything's just being banned out from this jungler. Just has to make sure that he doesn't do what they want. And then on the side of the Banished, looks like they're going to be banning Thor and Baba Yaga, which is a little awkward banning a jungler when you are the ones that get to pick right after. But they do end up picking the Susano, and Susano is such a strong god right now, in ranked more than anything else. In comp, don't really see him getting picked up all that much. Does have to be careful with getting picked out. No CC immunity in his kit whatsoever, but that double dash, or sorry, a dash with a teleport and then a blink on top of it, that's three engages or three ways to get out of hell.
Yeah, it's a very safe pick, um, especially into picks like the Thanatos and the Poseidon. Um, well, you gotta be careful of the cripple field, of course, but other than that, that teleport is a really strong disengage tool. It's also really good into the Poseidon because you can kind of just kill him with all of your damage, your CC with the pull and the ult. Um, it's a very strong pickup into this comp.
Definitely. Gonna have to see how this Thanatos and Discordia kind of pull through. I do like the Discordia pickup. It's a free red buff on whoever's doing the most damage on your team. And the higher level Discordia is, the more power she's giving somebody. Just for having, like I said, it's a free red buff on somebody's belt just for smacking around the enemy team. Just showing who has the bigger cojones. But it looks like the Banish end up actually locking in Artemis. I I don't get me wrong. I like Artemis. I just her lane clear is a little awkward. Her team fight ult is a hey, I'm gonna put down Tusky and good luck walking into its radius because it's a guaranteed hit. I love the ult and I love what she brings into the table, but I just don't know if it's the right pickup as there are better ADCs in my eyes on the table with this on her. With shredding tanks, especially with a Geb getting picked up, or even an X-Ball turning out the lights, Redis Thanatos kind of goes into the air and doesn't allow him to kind of see, but he will see with his passive. Going into this game, what kind of comp do you like more? Do you like the Kappa Corp side or the Banished side? I know you've played on the Kappa Corp side, but non-biased opinion, whose comp do you like more?
Oh, I'm biased all the way, and I don't turn that off just to be polite. That said, the Banished has a good comp here. They have a lot of pick potential with the Umoja setup, the Raijin, the Morgan, and the Susano. A lot of burst damage for those jungle fights. But the team fight from Kappa Corp with the Poseidon ult and the Geb ult, it's still a lot. I think it's anyone's game. I think a lot of it's going to come down to how much of an impact this Susano has, especially in the duo lane. If this Poseidon gets shut down, that's a lot of the mid game pressure on those beacons and pyros. Um, and I think if he doesn't do that, Kappa Corp's going to win in a landslide.
That is definitely understandable. We are going to have to see as we're going to be loading in to game number 2. It's going to be Kappa Corp versus the Banished. Banished taking game 1. Let's see how game 2 goes. As you were saying, this Susano is going to have to do quite a bit here to try and give that pressure to dual lane, but also make sure this Poseidon is shut down. So that's a lot going on to the Susano. In my eyes, I think this Yamoja is going to have to play this very well, especially if Thanatos is going to be ulting in. She's going to have to try and lock him down after he lands. Doesn't really have that jump to escape the walls. So if Yamoja kind of gets some good ults happening into this team fight, can definitely cut off 4 of the team on Kappa Corp's side, as no one has jumps except for this Discordia. Definitely have to be careful, especially with this poke on the Banished side. If I'm being honest, I like the comp better on the Banished side, but definitely picks wise are very strong on Kappa Corp side. Just a good Geb shield onto somebody, it could save their life and definitely make them live. That Geb shield is very thick and very large. It does look like it's going to be a Raijin mid and a Morgan Le Fay solo. I'm gonna have to see how this matchup goes. In my eyes, I think Poseidon wins this matchup all the time. Morgan Le Fay has some great poke and great clear, but Poseidon with that 2, just that attack speed and that damage, once he gets that online, kind of I think should win that fight. We'll definitely have to see. Um, Going into this, do you think the Kappa Corp have to be aggressive in the early game, just like how they were game 1, or do you think they should play a little bit more passive and kind of wait and counter gank this time against the Banished?
I think they could go either way. Uh, there's two options for the Thanatos here, really. You can either play for that early game damage with just ult into the scythe, uh, kill the mid laner, kill the solo laner, just get your picks and get out, steal the buffs. Or you can play counter engage on the Susano, wait for him to go in, ult him instead. Maybe you get a double kill. It's a bit more risk, it's a bit more reward. I think either of them work here, but I think that the Susano and the Thana should be going to different lanes. I think this Artemis needs to get held behind just as much as the Poseidon does, and I think that if the junglers are playing correctly, they're not going to be in the same place.
Definitely gonna have to see how these jungles play out. That 3 camp clear on the back definitely was a little awkward there. Almost dying to it as Disco and Poseidon. It looks like they kind of screwed each other up with their clear. But decent poke coming out in the mid lane. Raijin already being half health here. Does have to be careful of a Thanoscythe and does get hit by it in very low HP. Gonna be using all his health pots and has nothing left but a mana pot. Does have to be careful here, as I'm pretty sure he doesn't have jump and has the 2-1 combo for the clear. Looks like he's gonna be opting to stay in the tower because of that. And it looks like Kappa Corp just kind of get their mid pressure for free. Susano trying to come in and try and clear, does a little bit of damage to those front minions and gets out for free. And it looks like Raijin does finally get his mid lane, as a lot of pressure coming out over on this Kappa Corp duo lane side, which I'm kind of surprised with a CERN Geb not being able to clear too much. They do have a Yamoja on this Banished side. Mind you, it is a Artemis, but it looks like they're going to be getting ganked by this Thanatos. Coming up to the top side, good silence coming through, hits the one, shell coming through by the Umoja, and it looks like Artemis does get out just a little bit, but beads and shell having to be expended for it. Does have to be careful for this Thanatos gank once again, because not having relics against the Thanatos just spells death.
Yeah, the Artemis does have extra pressure, extra damage compared to the Cernanos in lane, but she's also a lot less safe because she doesn't have the dash. So she can't really utilize the pressure in the early game without the safety of the ult. That's a kill in mid lane on this Raijin. Not the safest pick, to be honest, into the Disco and the Thana. It's a very easy leap to get stunned out of, or silenced out of by the Thanatos, and just get locked down and killed.
Definitely do have to be careful on this Raijin. It's not that insta dash that most mages or any character have when it is a jump or a leap. Do have to be careful with that. It is that little bit of wind up that can be silenced out, can be knocked up out or stunned. But it looks like we're gonna just opt for the blue clear for these solo laners, even though Morgan kind of did have the pressure on this Poseidon, just kind of a little scared of this Thanatos.
It's a very strong pick in the early game. A lot of damage on that one singular ability compared to the consistency of the Susano. It's a lot more make or break.
Definitely, definitely. It looks like the game is going a little bit slower here compared to game one. Game one, we had kind of had about 2 to 3 ganks by the 3-minute mark. Everyone kind of just playing a little slower, kind of feeling each other out, even though we did have a game just before this. Definitely Poseidon ult coming through, getting the Morgan Le Fay ult right after, and decent damage coming out from both sides. Both of the solo laners kind of getting poked down to roughly the same amount of health here. Does have to be careful though, as the Poseidon, as the Morgan is 1 level up, as shield buff is going to be getting picked up here by the Banished. Geb trying to steal it away and just gets off the mark, just barely misses this here as Artemis ends up picking it up. Looks like more brawling is just going to be happening over here in the solo lane, just who has the cojones, and I think Poseidon just kind of wants that Discordia buff on his waist as best as he can.
Yeah, one thing I was going to comment in the picks and bans, the Poseidon getting disco buff is going to do a lot.
Sorry to cut you off here, but we have a gank over in the dual lane. Susano blink ult coming through, CERN ult for the peel coming in, Thanatos landing, getting Artemis ult. Great 2-man stun by this Umoja, but it's just not enough. This Artemis is looking low HP, and so is the Thanatos. Not enough damage coming through. Thanatos actually does get the cleanup kill on the Artemis, and then onto the Umoja. Susano just a little too poked here and can't really do too much. His ult and his blink are down. No mana, no health, and great counter gank by this Thanatos ult coming in. It looks like the Banished just weren't on the same page. Umoja ulted first. Once the Umoja ult was down, Susano went in, ulted afterwards. And then when that ult was down, we went into the Artemis ult. As, hold on, Raijin gets a cleanup ult onto the Thanatos here, and Discordia kind of dashes in. Does have to be a little careful, but Yomoja out of Omi and kind of just walks in and gets the kill for free onto the Raijin. Morgan and LeFay looking a little bit poked here, as it looks like the solo lane Poseidon was the only one that ulted, and it looks like Morgan and LeFay kind of just wanted to hold on to it and said, I'll use it for tomorrow. But anyways, back to that fight over in the dual lane. Was a great counter gank, as I was saying, by this Thanatos. Kind of just knowing who to land on, kind of just getting that disengage, as it looks like Susano kind of just getting ran at here, being a little bit too forward, and great ult by this Thanatos. Once again, just kind of capitalizing on the Susano that doesn't have beats.
Yeah, the Susano is a very mobile character, but it can't quite compete with the global pressure from a Thanatos. The cooldown resets on top of having cooldown as Thana means that your ult is up a lot sooner. You just have a lot more opportunities for ganks, for kills to get people ahead.
Definitely does have to be careful about this Thanatos. Kind of watching out for it. He is 3-1-2 now. Did get shut down by the Raijin, but Raijin just got killed right after by Disco. Disco 2-0-0, doing pretty well on this mid lane. Kind of being able to survive, not on that Thoth pick anymore. Or sorry, not on that Persephone pick anymore. And just kind of just relaxing here in mid lane. Not really getting ganked by the Susano or even looked at all too much. And just kind of free farming, which I'm pretty sure the Kappa Corp are going to love, where his shield buff is going to be looked at. Geb knockup coming onto the Umoja, not enough damage, and as Thanatos is kind of looking at the Artemis, but kind of swap target back to this Umoja. Doesn't do too much damage to her though, as she is quite tanky. Doesn't have full stacks onto this Thebes yet, but she does have quite a bit of health.
Yeah, overall, just a lot of posturing going on around the Gold Fury, but not necessarily for Gold Fury, but in the area. Not much getting done, although
Thanatos ult coming down in mid lane does get the beads onto the Raijin. Raijin looking very low HP, does get the ult out. Good healing by the Umoja. Blinking from the Susano a little too far, as we just waste quite a few relics and ults, as Kappa Corp kind of just walk into T1 tower and get out scot-free. Still low HP though, still trying to look for a kill here. Are a little bit poked, but so are the Banished. This is a 2v3 here, just kind of gonna opt for these right mids instead. Raijin does have to be careful in this mid lane now. Kappa Corp know that he has no beads and no ult and is susceptible for a gank.
yes, overall an even trade in the mid lane in terms of relics and ults, but with the Raijin having to back, they get pressure for the camps. The Disco is a lot safer from the Susano than the Raijin is from the Thana. So the next fight in mid is probably going to go a lot more heavily in Kappa Corp's favor.
Definitely is gonna probably go more on the side of Kappa Corp with these relics being down, but Disco's beads are also down at roughly the same amount of time as the Raijin. As you said though, does have that leap, does have that iframes for that Susano ult, whereas an ult comes over, two ults are being used over on the side of solo lane. Susano trying to come in, not doing too much damage, and just opts to get out. Doesn't opt to stay as his ult is down as well. He doesn't have the cooldowns as Thanatos has, as you said. It's just too much on this Thana compared to the Susano, just kind of getting out-rotated by this semi-global ult.
Yep, the Banished doing their best to secure farm, stay in the game as much as possible. I think if they can get to the late game, get this Artemis online, they stand a good chance to win. But if Kappa Corp wins before they get there, there's not much that they can do. As you see on the GPM, that Kappa Corp has 4 of the top 5 spots, the support obviously being the lowest. I'd like to see a Gold Fury call at some point in the near future.
Definitely on Kappa Corp side, they can be doing in Gold Fury. Doesn't really have the secure, so definitely gonna have to look for a pick on that side. But as we saw earlier from the damage, that Thanatos is top damage. He is the one with the Disco buff on his belt. You end up securing the left side mids, as Artemis is kind of pushed to her T1 tower. Can't really go anywhere. Thanatos looking for something. Not end up being able to do anything, as 3 members from the Banished are here for the shield buff. Gonna try and steal it for the Thanatos, as Morgan Le Fay kind of getting really poked out. As I was saying, the matchup with Poseidon into Morgan, Poseidon wins that matchup 9 times out of 10. His clear and his poke are just that much better than Morgan. His ult is backed up much faster than hers as well. This is just a great all-around solo lane pick.
Yeah, overall, well, the Morgan, the MLF does have great self-heal feel. Generally, it's on the melee assassin, it's on the guardians and warriors that are diving her. Can't do a lot to stop Poseidon from ulting you from a mile away.
Definitely does have to be careful for this. It looks like everyone's just kind of making a little bit more of a slow play as the Raijin and the Disco Beats did come back up. No one really capitalizing on it. And it looks like Geb is trying to go for the rotation for this Artemis over in left lane. I wonder if Artemis is going to sniff that out. Kind of does. Geb walking over ward, notices it, and actually de-sentries. They're trying to just get ready for this ward coverage over on the dual lane side as a blue invade might come through. Don't have the timer just yet, but it looks like the Susano is kind of being a little greedy here. Is level 12, haven't backed for that second relic yet, as blue buff does come. And it looks like Kappa Corp do get actually stolen by here. As you said, great ult by the Poseidon ends up killing the Susano here. Thanatos being a little aggressive here, missing the ult, missing the one. He is a bit poked, does have to be careful here.
Yumoji coming in from mid lane as well.
Is called out here. Yamoja does have to be careful though. Doesn't have too much Omi. It looks like they're on different targets here. Raijin's still in the mid lane. Does have the ult, and Geb ult does coming through. And I'd say that's a win, honestly. Raijin ult getting caught out for a Geb ult is a win in my book, honestly. But that Susano being a little too greedy there with no mana and level 12 could have grabbed that second relic. Opted for that blue buff. XP and gold when he was a level up there, as we saw, until he died. Kind of just out farming this Thanatos, even though Thanatos is part of every kill on his team. Does have to be careful here with dying anymore, as he is slowly making that XP gap just a little bit larger.
Yeah, the Susano is even. Looks to be the only one on his team that is, and I don't think it's going to be enough to keep his team in the game. However, this is Kappa Corp's game to lose. If they don't start snowballing soon, the Banish is going to come online. They're going to be ready for these mid-game team fights, and the early game won't have mattered anymore.
Definitely, it is Kappa Corp's game to lose. As you said, they are about 3 to 4k up in gold. And Gold Fury hasn't been pulled yet. We're 13 minutes in. The only one objective that has been pulled was that Stygian beacon, because it is forcefully spawned at the 12-minute marker. Kind of just trying to out farm the Banished here, not really doing objectives. Does have to be careful because like I said, it is 13 minutes here, and it could be anyone's Gold Fury, as these ADCs are finally done stacking their Gauntlet of Thebes and do have Executioners online. They are going to start doing damage to these objectives to these tanks.
Quick note that the ADCs do not have Gauntlet of Thebes. As I
Oh
believe
shoot,
the
yeah,
of
Devourer's
Lars
Gauntlet!
is dead. However, the Guardians, the supports, do have Thebes stacked, which is going to matter in these fights. They're a lot harder to kill, even with Exi, because they just don't die.
Definitely. That is 100% my mistake, as English is a very hard language. And words are very jumbled up at the moment. But luckily we are in a slower paced game too, whereas only 8 kills have happened right now at the 14-minute marker, whereas I believe there is probably about 15 to 20 kills that happen around this marker. As a great push coming out from this Umoja, getting that Fanny ult forced out, but Geb's close by and he knows it, trying to land on the Susano, gets the beads from the Susano. Susano kind of just opting to go back, gets the beads and the Geb shield for it. Great knockout coming through. Fanny's half HP, gets stunned. Great damage coming from this Raijin, and Raijin gets the cleanup kill. with his ult, but it looks like 3 ults were expended on the side of Banished to kill a Thanatos. Not too bad on the side of Banished, but now they have nothing in their kits to kind of go on to an objective, so to speak, or to continue another gank. It looks like it's going to be some more farming, just out of position by this Thanatos. Going a little too deep, whereas Geb was there, but just a little too far for Geb to kind of catch up and give him that shield that he needed.
Yeah, the ult out was the right call, but I don't think going back on the Susano was worth it, even for the beads. Oh, and that is a kill in the duo lane. That is a T1 tower that's going to go down. Might even be a gold carry call, given that there is no one on the left side of the map.
Yes, there is no one on the left side of the map, but do Kappa Corp know this? They do have decent wards around the objectives, but nowhere else on the map. No one is seen on the map, and Pyro is up. So they do have to be careful for this pull. There was a great gank over onto this Artemis, as Artemis is spawning in 5 seconds, and this Gold Fury still hasn't been started at all. CERN ended up opting for that lane, and now Artemis is back up, and now it's back to a 5v5 fight. Stygian Beacon is spawning here very soon, and it looks like no real objectives just kind of get taken. A T1 tower over in left lane, but it looks like a Pyromancer is going to be called instead of the Gold Fury.
I do like this call here. The Pyro is a lot easier to kill, easier to secure than the gold. It's a lot more contained area, so there's less options for the other team to come in and steal it. Fight in the solo lane. That is
Great
all
double
three
ult.
ults down.
Great double ult coming out from the Kappa Corp here, and great relic usage by MLF, and great ult to come back and kind of drop that damage. The Thanatos and Poseidon taking quite a bit of damage here. Susano trying to look for a cleanup, not going to be able to get it, as 4 people are on this side of solo lane, whereas Cernanos is going to try and get that solo kill again onto the Artemis. He finds it for ult, and he ends up using the beads for it, but that's a-okay as he's won the fight. It looks like it's a Gold Fury call now, as we see the pings coming through, as Yamoja kind of sniffs it out. I think somebody walked over a ward. Raijin trying to make his way there as fast as he can, but the CERN doing quite a bit of damage. Gold Fury is down to half HP. Yamoja ult does come through, trying to take it away from them. Does not happen. Kappa Corp end up taking it. Good 2 by this Discordia. Great ult coming through to stop the dash from the Raijin. Just not enough. Aegis does come through. Shell as well coming in. And it looks like Geb kind of went onto the backline, and he's over here by himself, whereas Thanatos opted to just ult the beacon. Just calls kind of going all over the place here. Good blink by the Susano. Good damage coming through. Aegis coming in. Shell coming through. And it does get a kill onto this Thanatos. As Susano, he's 2 levels up, killing this level 14 Thanatos. I don't know if that was worth it. Just a little unfortunate positioning, or maybe calls by the Susano and the team of the Banished, kind of going in to kill. I understand the Thanatos was very low HP, but he could have opted for another target there. Definitely probably would have went for the Disco, as they are level 18 and do need to be shut down here. Disco dash does come through. The Signal coming in. Morgan Le Fay doing a decent amount of damage. Gets the Aegis onto the Disco. Shell coming in from the Geb, and it makes the Disco live. Raijin opting for the back after that fight. Decent engagement from the Banished, just not enough to get this Discordia. Discordia just playing that little bit of poke and run, and she's doing a great job of it. Poseidon coming in for that peel was great for them. Just trying to get out. They noticed they got the T1 tower, which is what they were there for, and try and leave as fast as they can. Great play by the Banished.
Gameplay going on there in mid. This duo lane fight is one to watch. The Cernos, a full item up and 3 levels on the Artemis, multiple kills in a row, and has the T1 down. If he starts rotating to these mid fights, they might even get a fire time.
Yes, definitely. If he does rotate to these team fights, 100%. He is level 19. As you said, 3 levels up on this Artemis. It could be a free objective. But at the same time, he is level 19. He's one of the highest levels in the game, right next to Poseidon. I think they just farm up for their starter here, kind of get even a larger power spike, and kind of guarantee that objective. It's almost at the 20-minute marker. Fire Giant is still a bit early, and that's why we usually do these objectives like the Gold Fury and the Pyromancer a lot earlier, trying to give you some more gold and XP so you do hit that 20 by 20 minutes. But it looks like CERN does end up getting that XP, as you said, soloed the Artemis once and then getting the kill again later before with the Geb gank. Looks like he's trying to just get that much gold and maybe even solo it again. Whereas Poseidon caught 2 out over here in the right side. Does have to be careful on the Susano, but the Susano is farming pretty well. Level 17 on his team and 2 levels higher than the enemy Thanatos, whereas everyone else is just trying to keep up on his team. Whereas 2 levels down on the solo lane, we're a level down in mid and 3 in the ADC. It looks like the Geb Blink ult coming through onto this Raijin, doing enough damage, kind of destroys him, whereas he doesn't even use any relics. This Yamoja, half HP, looking like they can't really do too much here, whereas Pyromancer does get pulled for free. Cernanos is here and doing great damage onto it. Great engage by the Kappa Corp. And it looks like 2 of them want to continue, but the rest of the team isn't really in the same call. The Artemis ult does come through, kind of gets the beads onto the Cernanos. Great Susano ult to try and peel Poseidon by himself in the front, but it doesn't matter. He is able to do that damage. Morgan Le Fay kind of getting caught out here. Is quite a bit tanky though. Beads coming through from her. Good peel, good pull into the tier 2 tower. Geb shield coming through with the Aegis on the Thanatos. And CERN just holding down 2 people by himself over at the speed camp to try and get more relics. It looks like a Fire Giant call is going to happen here, but never mind. They're going to opt for the T1 tower in solo lane.
Yeah, just to hop in here, I'm Ryu Kurg, I'm the spectator, and I'm going to hop in because our co-caster is going to have some a little bit of issues. But right now, it definitely looks like they're in a very solid position, the Kappa Corporation, and they're definitely looking for this Fire Giant. I actually think they might pull this here, even though their health bars are a little bit risky, but they do eventually kind of call to fall back, reset, and farm up.
Definitely, I think this call to kind of farm and back is a great one, as the ADC CERN doesn't have either of his relics. Does have to be careful for the Susano Blink ultimate. Can die to him now very susceptibly, even with the Geb shield, whereas Artemis kind of getting that solo farm, which is great for her. Ending up getting that T1 tower and kind of backing up. Looks like they found the CERN. Gold Free is up, and so is Beacon. This Beacon does spawn the Titans, so Banished do have to be careful, as they are almost 8k down in this fight, and XP kind of catching up to them, not losing too much XP, as max level is 20. Do have to be careful in this mid lane, as this Poseidon Susano ult does come through. Great pull onto this Poseidon. Poseidon really low HP, trying to look for the kill. Susano actually cleans it up. Great shutdown onto this Poseidon, as a lot of ults do come through from Kappa Corp. It just wasn't enough to get him out. Just a little bit out of position. His Thanatos and CERN weren't there, as a Discordia was capping Beacon. I don't know if that was a little too much worth. They do get a Beacon, but they end up getting a shutdown onto this Poseidon, and it goes on to the Susano here.
And definitely, I agree with you that the Poseidon a little bit too far from his team. They do trade back a lot of damage, but at the end of it, just Loshak falling on the Poseidon, both sides spending a few ultimates and nothing really happening. Right now, though, in left lane, looks like a 2v2 spawning.
Yeah, Thanatos trying to look for a gank here, ends up spotting the Susano, doing decent damage. I don't know if this fight is looking to happen, as they don't really have minions. I think they're going to posture for this Gold Fury or maybe a Titan in mid lane. Raijin kind of already having that mid lane pushed up, but a fight might be happening over on this left side instead. And it looks like Susano's going to get ulted on. Misses the Poseidon ult, does great damage. The CERN does clean up this fight. Raijin does end up cleaning up the Thanatos for going in a little bit too deep. CERN getting caught out as well. Poseidon getting caught out. This Yamoja ult and the damage and the slows are just great from the Banished ending up dropping 4 people and taking a 4v5 fight without the Geb. I don't know what was the call on this Kappa Corp side, being a little too aggressive at a T2 tower without any vision at all on the enemy team except for 2 people, which was the Susano and the Raijin in mid. They knew that the Artemis was there, but they had no vision on this Morgan Le Fay and the Yamoja, whereas they're pushing down this T2 tower. They have a full health Titan. Phoenix is the call. They have a full wave, and damage is there, and they might even back up to a Fire Giant. This might be a free Fire Giant, as this is more than a 60% health Titan. Thanatos does spawn, finally tries to get the damage, but this Titan is still a regular Titan. They do have to clear this Titan as fast as they can. This is just regular FG. This should be burnt, but it looks like they're going to opt to kind of stop for the jungle bus as fast as they can. Susano's here to help with the damage. Fire Giant getting bursted down under 50%, going down to 25%, and it looks like they're just going to ult it for secures from the Susano and the Raijin. Great play, great counter engage by the bandits, or sorry, the Banished, excuse me, on this fight, and it looks like the consolation prize of a Pyro goes to Kappa Corp.
Alright, I have fixed my issues. I accidentally kicked my desk and it broke my Ethernet cord for a second.
That's what we love to hear. This is great.
But
No
yes,
worries.
overall, not a great fight, as you said, on the side of Kappa Corp. It looks like they came back, got that primal, secured the only objective on the map, so that the Banished can't do anything with the Fireboat Giant they just got, except push. And they can't really push a Phoenix down into a full 5-stack because the defense is too good for this Kappa Corp. They have the huge Gebel, Kraken when it comes back up, and the Wild Hunt, I believe it's called, from Cernanos. That's a lot of lockdown and CC to stop them from pushing into this Phoenix.
Definitely.
I don't think they can hack it.
Definitely, I 100% agree. I don't think Phoenix is the call, but these T2s, I 100% agree on. They're only 3k down now. That is not too much here, and it looks like they're going to get a TP from this Poseidon, but just that tower is just going to get burnt down. This is FG on a full build Artemis, not counting starter. This Artemis is doing a lot of damage, but this Phoenix push is a very questionable. They don't have fire minions coming down mid lane just yet. That Poseidon pushed up enough waves, end up losing the T2 for it because it was a 4v5 fight. Does get the back off, but it looks like the Banished are still going to go for a Phoenix fight. You have to be very careful here. As you did say, they do have great AoE ults, but so does this Yamoja with the walls coming up. Thanatos ult does come through, lands on 2, great stun. Cern ult coming through, Raijin trying to get that peel and damage off onto the Geb. Disco ult kind of getting 2 of them very low on the Banished side. Artemis does have to be careful. Egg is coming through a little late, does get a little bit poked, but they do have Fire Giant sustain and Yamoja sustain. So you have to be careful on this Kappa Corp, as they did use a lot of ults and a lot of relics, but same with the Banished. Another wave's come through. Morgan Le Fay has still have the ult, and same with the Geb. Geb doesn't really connect with anyone. It looks like the Thanatos is going to try and get behind them. Susano kind of smells that gang coming through and kind of scares him off. Do have to be careful though, as this Phoenix is still not being given up. The poke on it is not that much. Disco damage coming through is very nice onto this Artemis, trying to scare this Artemis away. Missing out on our poke damage here, as fire waves are now finally trying to seep in to this mid lane. Yep, trying to get some good damage here. Poseidon ult does come through, gets the Aegis from the Morgan. Not too much is happening. Their sustain with the Fire Giant and Yamoja is pretty decent, but they do have the Fountain right behind them for Kappa Corp. They do have to be careful here on this next engage for the Banished, as they do have ults coming up here. Geb a little bit poked here. Raijin ult coming through, looking onto this Poseidon, doing a decent amount of damage. Not enough coming through. He is about half HP. Raijin taking a lot of poke. Geb ult used just randomly there onto his own Cern. I don't know if he tried to blink. It looks like the blink didn't go off. Just a little unfortunate, as mid Phoenix is being looked at by the Susano. Does have to be careful though, as 4 people are there. And it looks like Kappa Corp kind of smelt it and looked like they get the defense on both mid and their duo Phoenix. Losing nothing other than a tier 2.
Yeah, that was a great defense by the Kappa Corp on that Phoenix. Dealt with the Umoja ult very well at the beginning of the fight. Thanatos ulted a little bit deep and then immediately got peeled out by the Champ Shield, the Shell, uh, all of the team just dumping damage onto the Banished. And then backing up, healing at the fountain, like you said, to counteract the FG healing. And the Phoenix never went below about 80% health that whole time.
Yeah, it looks like people on the Banished side are just being a little too cautious here, in my opinion. Definitely could have just made someone a sacrificial lamb to be a little bit more aggressive, trying to clean up one of the backlines, as both the Discordia and the CERN didn't have relics at the time. But it looked like they just did not trust the engage, didn't want to drop one person for a bird, which is respectable. It is at the 30-minute marker now. It looks like Banished do end up getting that Pyromancer. Ult coming through from the Susano and the Poseidon. Decent damage onto both of them. Walls come through from the Umoja. Shell expended, trying to get away, and Thanatos is up in the air, debating to go in, but it looks like his team does not want to as well. Good call to kind of back it up and just not go in there. Landing into 3 to 4 people by himself could have got him killed. Good damage from this Morgan Le Fay coming through, and it looks like Fire Giant is our next dance.
Yeah, this is ESG now. We're just past the 30-minute mark. Whoever gets this and survives is in a hot seat to win the game. If the Banished get it, they could push down that mid T3, the Phoenix, get a few kills and end the game. If Kappa Corp gets it, they could sweep those tier 2s down in all 3 lanes, secure a Gold Fury, and set up for a Phoenix. But they gotta do the Fire Giant first, and that's what it all comes down to here.
Yeah, and I definitely think that this is going to be a pretty long stand here, poke, see if you can get the advantage, and if something gets poked out too much, just take a quick back, grab some wards, and come back. It looks like Geb is actually taking a little bit more poke than he'd like, ending up at about half health, and the fight looks like it might be starting here on the low shack.
Yeah, you're going to also put a bit of poke at the low shack. It's absolutely blown up, but the return kill with the Kraken and Thanatos double kill in the back line. Meanwhile, the rest of the team gets wiped by the Banished. And 3 half health by the Banished. Can they kill the Thana? Are they going to go for Fire Giant? It looks like they're backing up. Probably going to get some more farm, reset, get ready for this Fire Giant fight again. But it doesn't look like they can do anything meaningful in the meantime.
Yeah, and that was a really, really good fight from Red Team, showing really the advantage of their team being lots of really, really good AoE damage. They have the double mage, they have the Artemis Boar rolling through, they have the Susanoo ult, and Blue just kind of got caught with their entire team in the same channel, and they just got hit by all this AoE. The only person not with them is Thanatos diving the backline, finds himself a couple of kills, but too little too late, the rest of the team finding themselves fallen.
Thanatos unwittingly steps on a ward, backing off the other team from Fire Giants. And now the call is to hold fire while they go for Primal. The TP in from the Poseidon, the damage from the Poseidon too, auto attacks him, and do they get it? We have a Raijin coming in, Morgan Le Fay is already here. Not a lot of secure on the side of Kappa Corp. Kill on the Morgan from the Thanatos to the backline. Kappa Corp secure the ESG. All 5 of them get out, and they get ready to start pushing.
That was a great call by the Kappa Corp there, honestly. Calling for that FG, as knowing as the Banished kind of went for that Gold Fury call. Kind of awkward going for that Gold Fury call, honestly, at the 33-minute marker when a EFG, Enhanced Fire Giant, is on the board. That is a lot of bonus power and structure damage going on the side of the Kappa Corporation for basically free. The Morgan Le Fay ult coming in, kind of sniffing it out, was great, trying to make sure that the rest of the team wasn't sleeping. And the Raijin coming in, trying to do something, and doesn't really get too much off it other than, honestly, a Geb shield. And Poseidon ult coming through for the secure, trying to get that extra bonus damage, and it just was enough for this Kappa Corp to kind of just get this EFG. With this EFG, I kind of want to see them, use these bombs that they're gonna get on this Phoenix, maybe even a split push, a 4-1 split with this Thanatos, as this Thanatos has a great 1v1 into basically anyone, but it looks like they're gonna opt for a two-man push over here on right side, as the Banished don't really have vision on anyone else. Does have to be careful with this push on the solo lane, and Poseidon getting a little bit poked out here.
Both teams playing it very cautious here. You have EFG, they have a Geb shield, they have a Kraken, and they're still kind of timidly pushing down these T2s. It just shows that they really felt the burn from game one, and they don't want this to go the way that did.
Definitely, definitely. This Kappa Corporation does have to be a little bit more aggressive in my eyes. I don't know if they're not explaining as the damage dealers that, hey, I kill towers instantly. I kill tanks instantly. With this, I can now do damage. This CERN can shred basically anyone. If we get a good Geb Blink ult knockup onto even the tank Yamoja, I'm pretty sure she'll get blown up pretty quickly. It does look like they're just going to back up, kind of opt for this beacon again. Doesn't spawn Titan, but hey, it's more movement speed and it's more tower damage at the end of the day.
Yes, the call here was in fact to play it slow. Make sure we get all of the T2s down and then set up for the Phoenix and left. As you can see, the Thanatos and the Cernatos heading that way. There is still about a minute and a half on EFG, I believe. More than enough to push down this Phoenix with the bomb that Geb is currently holding. There's a lot of potential for a good team fight here. Just have to see who comes out on top.
Definitely is going to be a good fight here on this Phoenix. Are the Banished going to be able to defend their bird just as well as Kappa Corp defended theirs earlier on in this game? They do have the Emoja wall to kind of stop the damage onto the bird, but once the Emoja wall kind of goes down, that cooldown is a very long time. Does have to be careful with that. Did end up going for the bubble so they can help their team a little bit more on this Emoja, trying to get a stun out onto 3 and misses. That's okay though, because we still have more than enough Omen for this fight. It looks like they are kind of standing on a ward. It looks like Kappa Corp is trying to get a little bit of poke, trying to put their nose in there. Can't really find the room to do it. This Morgan Le Fay being a little bit annoying with their poke. Thanatos ult does come in. Geb blinking into here, doesn't really do anything, just ends up blinking. Thanatos gets a full 100-0 onto this Raijin, but a Susano ends up killing 2. The Discordia has to beads Aegis to try and run away. Shell coming through. Thanatos trying to run away from the Morgan. Actually trying to get out using everything that they got. It looks like Discordia does get cleaned up by the Susano, and Geb's being left out by themselves as well. They do end up getting Bird, but Bird for 3 of your damage dealers dead. I'm not too sure if it's worth. If I am the Banished here, I'd just be running down mid lane and ending the game. But it looks like they're just going to opt for this Gold Fury as well, where Susano kind of just makes sure that the Geb doesn't really get out for free.
Only Fury, not a terrible call to counteract the fire minions in left lane. Especially because the Geb is just burning so much time distracting the Susano. But pushing down a Phoenix, I think, would have been the right call. They still have the bomb on Umoja. They could have gotten a Phoenix fairly easily, even into the Thanatos, because Thanatos didn't have ult up yet. And it would help counteract pressure in order to get this Fire Giant.
I agree, but they did end up finally killing that Geb, making this fight a 4v5 fight. They do have fire minions going down left lane, but as you said, those Oni minions are gonna help with pushing them out. Thanatos kind of smells it. He sees the ring of fire around the Fire Giant. Fire Giant going down a little slowly. It is at the 55% mark, and it looks like they're gonna drop it, as it looks like the Artemis kind of half HP, taking a lot of damage from this fire. Morgan Le Fay trying to poke out the enemy team, trying to say, Please get out of here. It looks like they're opting for the second bomb, though, going on the side of the Susano. CERN kind of being up by himself here, taking quite a bit of poke from the Morgan Le Fay. Don't know what the Banished are doing. They're kind of letting the Geb respawn back. And it's not so good for them, as they're slowly dwindling down this Fire Giant, not really dropping it as fast as they would like to. Geb has spawned up. Thanatos does see that the Fire Giant is pulled. Poseidon is here as well, looking to try and steal it maybe. Looks like they dropped it once again. Thanatos looking to land on the Morgan Le Fay, misses. Poseidon ult, off the mark as well. It looks like Morgan Le Fay is going to be going onto this Thanatos, doing a lot of damage. Egg is coming through with the Geb shield. Geb ult as well. 3 ults being used onto this Morgan Le Fay, whereas CERN was just left out to hang and dry, and he is now fallen back into the base. All their ults have been used on the side of Kappa Corp, whereas they still have Raijin ult on the side of the Banished. Are they pushing? I truly don't think they should. I think they should go for this FG. Susano, low health. Thanatos does have that passive and sees him. Does have to be careful though, as they have no Aegis.
Yes, they did get them off the EFG at the first time. But at what cost? The cost of fallen CC. And that appears to be just enough for this fight to take out the Poseidon, Thanatos in the air, and they decisively won that team fight, but they're not healthy enough to do anything. They can't pull the EFG. They honestly, like, all they have is Stygian up.
Yeah, this fight is a little awkward. It looks like the Banished kind of went back to reset their HP bars and somewhat clear these fire minions. They're trying to run back to this Fire Giant, but Fire Giant dance going on for quite some time. Again, in this 4v5 fight for the Banished, it's in their favor. Phoenix is spawning up again, and it looks like Artemis is going to have to defend it. I wonder if it's going to happen like last game, whereas Kappa Corp killed one fire wave and forgot about the second one and end up losing their Phoenix once again. We're going to see, though, as Kappa Corp are kind of walking up, trying to de-ward the Banished and try and get that vision on Fire Giant just a little bit better as their Poseidon spawns in.
Titans are charging up to push down the solo lane. 4v4 fight at Captain Fire. Artemis is making her way back, and Poseidon about to walk up as well. Who's going to secure it?
It looks like it could be anyone's FG here. It looks like Kappa Corp does secure it, and Cernanos does end up falling. It looks like Thanatos is 1 HP, trying to get out, and he looks like he does get the kill onto Raijin. Susano ends up killing both the backliners of Kappa Corp, and it looks like they're trying to chase out this Geb, whereas Poseidon gets the back off and actually ends up living. Thanatos just trying to buy time to make sure that they chase him away and just literally live for as long as he wants. He brings it over to the Geb, though, gets shielded by Geb, has to use the Aegis once more, and it looks like Susano doesn't want to give this up. His team's no longer with him, but Kappa Corp, I don't think, knows this, as Susano is looking for him, ends up seeing the back, and it gets hit by the 1 damage by this Thanatos and just gets annihilated. This damage by the Thanatos with EFG is absolutely disgusting. That 1 auto into death is just amazing. Back to full HP after getting that kill, and it looks like Poseidon just gets the poke mid Phoenix for free with an EFG, doing 2 true damage to it, as Thanatos kind of gets left Phoenix just by walking in. No one's really defending him, as it is a great fight and good engage onto this Morgan Le Fay. Morgan Le Fay egg is coming through, and Raijin trying to dashes in. Artemis ult being used a little late and doesn't hit anyone onto the mark, as Titans are fighting over in solo lane, and it looks like Chaos Titan is winning the match.
Yes, 2 Phoenixes down forces the Artemis to back, which allows Cernanos to come and burn the Titan. Artemis did enough damage that they no longer have a Titan to push with, but Kappa Corp coming up on top there. They got the EFG, 3 people died for it, same as what happened in Game 1, actually another parallel. But ultimately it wasn't enough to keep them down.
Yeah, Kappa Corp actually losing 2 members instead of 3, having Fire Giant on 3 this time instead, which is a great all in all, having it on that Poseidon. and on that Thanatos, doing a lot of damage. I understand it's not on that CERN and it's not on the Discordia, but Poseidon damage is just sky high. He's 4k damage above anyone else on his team. He is holding that #1 spot. He is holding that Discordia buff as long and as good as he can. CERN just trying to catch up onto all this damage, but it looks like they're grouping up very well on this Kappa Corp side. They know they want the right side Phoenix. They're playing this game by the book. I like it. Just wait for those fire minions to go in and get a free Phoenix. Someone has to defend it. They see Susano in mid. Is this the go button? Is this the gas pedal? Are they going to push it? Who knows? We're gonna find out. It looks like they're playing a little bit safe, waiting for these minions, but it looks like 3 of them are just rotating into the jungle here for some reason. Phoenix is down in mid lane. I don't, 3 people rotating here is a little excessive. They just kind of wasted a wave going in here. It looks like Discordia getting pulled in just a little bit. Geb shield being used as it looks like Poseidon is trying to get that rotation in from mid, trying to cut people off, but great poke is coming out from this Morgan. Thanatos goes up into the air, Morgan ult being used, and it looks like Thani land onto the Artemis. Artemis beats Aegis, does come through, it's just enough, and it looks like Thanatos is by himself in the back. It looks like Artemis actually gets the kill onto the Poseidon. The root comes through, kills the Cernanos, and it looks like 2 are dead on the side of Kappa Corp, whereas Thanatos is 1v3ing in the back and ends up killing 1. No, I lied, 2. 2 people dead on the side of the Banished, and 3 people died on this side of Kappa Corp. This is a back and forth game. The Banished end up defending that solo lane bird. How are they going to come back into this game? Fire Giant is not up just yet. Geb and Discordia are running away as best as they can. Susano is looking for a kill. He's looking for blood.
Yeah, you commented at the beginning of the game that that both teams are playing a little bit slow, and appears 46 minutes into the second game of the set, they're still getting the measure of each other. Both teams playing almost scared of what could happen if they full committed to a fight, and it's showing. The Banished is struggling to defend those 2 phoenixes from the mid and duo side, and the Kappa Corp team is struggling to secure the 3rd Phoenix for the extra pressure for the next EFG. And it's just another back and forth game.
Definitely. It is a battle of jungles right now. The Susano killing double backline. 3 people on the side of Kappa Corp, whereas Thanatos is holding down 3 people himself as well. These junglers are trying to do their best to win this game and to hold off whether it's the defense or the offense as much as they can. But it looks like birds are spawning on the side of the Banish as Fire Giant has just came back.
Kappa Corp pulled a few sneaky objectives this game, snuck a Fire Giant. I wonder if they're going to do it again, noticing that the Artemis is in left lane and that 2 are in mid. It appears they have called to pull it, as the Banished move up to get it. Susano probably going to wrap around onto the back line.
Fire Giant looking really low, not enough to damage it, but they do end up stealing it. Thanatos does end up getting the kill back onto the Susano, and I think the Banish are a-okay with that. 4 people strong with this Fire Giant. Fire Wave does still come in onto that left side bird and mid bird, but it looks like Kappa Corp just end up taking this Pyromancer, which is the consolation prize instead of EFG. They do have to be careful though, as Susano's dead for a full minute. This could still be the go button. All relics are up on the side of Kappa Corp. The only ultimates that are down are Poseidon and Thanatos. They do have to be careful on this engage as they don't have EFG, and the Banish do have EFG here. Do have to be careful of this damage here. Don't have to worry too much about the Susano as the Raijin actually dashes in and does great damage onto the Poseidon. Does have to be careful on Poseidon. Raijin ult does come through, not connecting, not getting the kill. Thanatos goes up into the air, gets the beads Aegis onto this Artemis. Great damage coming out from the Artemis, actually gets the kill, and it looks like they've lost the bird. Beads and Aegis coming from the Cernanos as a great shield was put onto him. Good CC and good AoE damage are coming onto him. Another shell being used. Geb looking very low himself as well. They are on the retreat. The call is to back off. They got the bird over in the duo lane side. They do have to be careful though. They are killing these camps, and the Banished are still pushing. They're still walking forward. They do definitely have to be careful here as Kappa Corp, as they were greedy in game 1. This could cost them again in game number 2.
Yes, the Umoja ult having been used to steal EFG, they didn't have that for this Phoenix defense, and it appears Kappa Corp recognized that and pushed through the EFG in order to take that Phoenix. EFG still mattering, allowing for now a second kill onto Kappa Corp, and another Phoenix being pushed, this time by the Banished.
It looks like the CERN actually gets that wraparound kill. Doesn't matter because he died after getting that kill onto him. It looks like Raijin is going to dash in and try and kill this Poseidon. Poseidon shell does come through. Geb shield as well. It's just not enough to kill this Poseidon. Great ult coming out from this Geb. Does have to do it for his own peel, but it looks like left bird does end up going down. Thanatos landing onto the Susano does get the kill. Great silence to try and get out. It's just not enough. Great shield coming out from this Geb. Egg is coming through as well. It looks like a great knockup from this Geb, and it looks like the fight's coming through. It looks like Raijin has disconnected. It is an unfortunate time for that Raijin to disconnect there. Umoja on the retreat, and Morgan Le Fay trying to run away, just trying to live and survive while their team is down.
It was an unfortunate disconnect by Raijin, but frankly, with no beats up, I don't think there's anything he can do to live in that situation regardless. I think this fight would have happened the exact same way. We'll just have to hope that he comes back before his timer runs out.
Definitely, the Banished can't pause here, as they still technically are in combat. You have to be careful here, as the Morgan is trying to run away, just still bringing them to her own base. Honestly, if I was this Morgan right now, I'd be keeping the enemy team towards their own base and just run around there. It looks like Gebolt is trying to come through. This Morgan is very tanky, not taking too much damage from the double tank on the side of Kappa Corporation. Not too much expended on the side of the Banished, but it looks like Gebolt was used. As the pause finally comes in, and it looks like Raijin did fully DC. Waiting for the Raijin to fully come back here, as we're going to take a small, quick, let's tune right back in. So what are your thoughts here? What do these teams need to do to win? What does Kappa Corp need to do, and what does the Banish need to do to end this game? We're at 51 minutes, Pepper.
Honestly, this game is clearly just one team fight away from winning in either direction. Doesn't matter who wins, doesn't matter who has EFG. Whoever wins a decisive fight wins the game.
There we go. I'm gonna catch you on that, because you said decisive team fight. A lot of team fights have gone on where it's either who wins it. It's either been Kappa Corp and it has been the Banished, but no one's been ending this game, because a lot of these team fights is 2 to 3 people dying on each side, and they just can't end.
Yeah,
Do you think that the teams need to get a full team wipe before they end, before they feel full confident to end? Or do you think they just need to kill that one person that they're truly scared of to end the game?
I think it all comes down to, which person dies. I don't think a team wipe is necessary, but I think if Susano dies before he kills the backline, or if Thanatos and Poseidon die before they can get a kill on Artemis, I think that's what's going to decide it, because if you kill the damage, there's no one else to fight. The Umoja can't do anything without backup. Raijin's not a very safe pick if there's a cripple field, if there's a whirlpool from Poseidon. It all matters about who they focus, and I think that's what has to happen.
I understand your point of view. We do have to be careful, though, of this Raijin damage. He does have great AoE damage on that as well, and they are pretty squishy. There are 3 squishies on the side of Kappa Corp, but they do have the Geb, shield, and shell in their back pocket. That has been keeping them alive a lot in these fights. Without this Geb shield keeping them alive, I think Banish definitely would have had this game a lot sooner. This Geb is putting in a lot of work for the Kappa Corp. He's kind of being slept on, I think. Very good pickup. Kind of just leading the charge for his team. Thanatos is initiating most of these fights, but the Geb is just making sure his team doesn't die, or trying to stall out for the Thanatos to try and get the kill as fast as he can.
Another thing to note is that Geb also has the heroism, so that is a 3rd shield, not even counting Bridwin. And yet there's no Sunder on the side of the Banish.
Or Erosion.
Yeah, I think if the Umoja picked up an Erosion or a Thunder, these fights would be going very differently. I'm seeing sometimes upwards of 1,000 health shield on this Thanatos getting peeled out of the backline, or on the Cernanos when they're getting died.
Exactly, these shields are a menace. We do have to remember that erosion was buffed. It is a great item right now. Umoja taking quite a bit of poke here, both from the Fire Giant and from Kappa Corp. Poseidon being really fast here right now as he pushes the two. Ends up selling his damage item and going for that anti-crit, just like the Geb as well. Poseidon ult does come through, hits the Umoja, gets decent damage onto him. Cern dash is down, but it looks like they're trying to go for the Poseidon. Cern ult does come through, trying to peel for himself. Beads Aegis was enough. Thanatos is in the air looking for a target, lands onto the Artemis, but great relics being used. Discordia ult coming through, kind of trying to peel off the fight, and it looks like the Raijin gets caught out and just being too much in the front here, as Morgan Le Fay actually cleans up the other mid laner. Both mid laners are dead. It looks like the Poseidon is low HP. Thanatos is trying to clean up the kills, misses Scythe, which is very unfortunate, as Cern gets caught out. We're just engaging a little bit too much without the backline anywhere near. Does have to be careful though. This Thanatos is still pretty healthy. Susano blinking in, getting good damage onto this Poseidon. Poseidon getting just, as we said earlier, 1, 2, 3 shields. Great Poseidon ult coming through, ends up killing the Artemis, and it looks like Poseidon is going to fall here, but never mind, I lied. The Thanatos ult does come in, and the Geb shield for the secure to keep his Poseidon alive. Thanatos does kill the Umoja, and it looks like it's just Susano left. They do have to be careful though, as Susano can just turn around and one hit, but he doesn't have the ult. He used the ultimate already. It looks like he tries the bomb to try and save himself. Wasn't enough. Geb's going to be running at him. He's going to be trying to buy time as best as he can here. Doesn't have the blink, doesn't have the dash. Getting ran at by the Geb, and it looks like Geb ends up securing the kill. 5 members down on the side of the Banished. And it's just not enough of a team fight for them. Great coordination and peeling for the side of Kappa Corporation. Unfortunate positioning by the mid lane and by their ADC, but ends up taking the 3 of the frontliners. Great fight all in all, and it looks like FG is going the side of Kappa Corporation. It looks like they are going to wait for the Cern, which I think is a great call here, as they knew everyone was dead on the side of the Banished, and they can just wait the extra couple of seconds to give it to them.
Yeah, I thought at the beginning of the fight this was going to be decisive in the favor of the Banished because both backliners died for Kappa Corp. But the sleeper damage from the Poseidon, unkillable with those tank items, getting the double kill over by Blue Buff, really turned that fight around. The Thanatos ult on the Morgan and the Geb secure on the Susano wiped them out. They have EFG, and now it's a 5v4, soon to be 5v5. They're gonna grab Oni Fury and push down this left Phoenix. And honestly, this one might be game. It's 5v5, but we're 56 minutes in. They have EFG, they have 3k pots. They're gonna be doing damage.
At the end of the day, as you said earlier, it's all depending on who wins the decisive fight. It looks like Thanatos doesn't even want to end up getting that 3k defense or damage pot. He just wants to end the game. He wants out. Get me out of here as fast as he can. He's trying to do his best here. As you said, it could be the game here. At the end of the day, it could be Kappa Corp or it could be the Banished. At the end of the day, it is, as you said, 56, 57 minutes now. Anyone can win this game. Even though EFG is on Kappa Corp, if they get a good wipe, if they kill 4 to 5 people, that is game.
2 in mid pushing on this Thanatos means that the left Phoenix gamma goes down 4-3. This Umoja ult is out. The Geb looks like he's gonna get out fully safe. And
L does come through out in this Poseidon. Poseidon's getting CC'd a lot here, but he's just too fast. His cooldowns are up just too much. He can't be killed. It looks like the rest of the Banished team just wasn't on the same page to go on the Poseidon as much as the Morgan and Raijin were all for it. Looks like the Poseidon is just getting away with highway robbery.
yeah, the Poseidon, a very slippery individual with the movement speed on the passive as well as on the stim. Almost uncatchable if you don't CC him or catch him in the Umoja ult.
I
don't
think it's a
there's-
great pickup too. He has no beads. Mind you, this Poseidon has no beads. He has no Aegis. If a CC combo does come up, if they just do it right, he should just die. Geb can't shell everyone. So if you have a good CC combo that hits not only Poseidon, but as well as the backliners, or even the Thanatos or Geb, he should be able to die, but it looks like the communication from the Banished is just a little wonky when it comes to killing him. Everyone's just all over the place. We're kind of just walking behind him instead of trying to cut him off, which is what you need to do against him side. Is not follow him, but try and cut him off because he is going to outpace you, as you said, with that movement speed on passive and the movement speed on the stim. It looks like they're going to opt for this solo lane side of the birds instead of mid lane. It looks like they're trying to go for that 4-1 split, maybe 3-2 split it looks like now, with this EFG around 5 members.
This is a similar rehash to last time they pressured a Phoenix, only now the mid Phoenix is still up. Again, very scared to commit to a full fight, although it looks like the Banished is going to force them to with the Umoja ult and the Raijin. Still no Phoenix going down. Minions are in Titan Room, however, and Kappa Corp is still healthy.
Kappa Corp is still healthy, and they did get 2 ults, but they used 2 ults as well. They used the CERN ult and the Geb ult. CERN also used Aegis, and they know it. That is very easy to tell when somebody uses Aegis with that giant circle around them. Does have to be careful as this ADC on Kappa Corp side, whittling down this mid Phoenix with these autos every now and then. But they are still poked. They don't really have much sustain other than that fire giant sustain. Geb shield is down. They do have to be careful here on this right side as Discordia is looking poked out a little bit. Still has beads Aegis. They got this low without it.
I'd like to see a Thanatos ult here to engage. I think without it, they're really going to struggle to push down a Phoenix. There's nothing to stop this backline from pumping damage past Umoja. And
Definitely, but you can't really do that as the relics are still up on all of them on the side of the Banished. Just beads down on Raijin, and that's not enough as a Thanatos. You need to have that Aegis down. If that Aegis is still up, Thanatos is literally a suicide bomber at that point to try and get relics, and it's just not worth it, especially at 60 minutes into this game. This is a very long game too, and man, let me tell you, everyone is wanting out of this. Not only the side of Kappa Corp, but it looks like even the Banished are starting to get antsy.
at this point, there's really no such thing as a gold lead at this point. Like, Kappa Corp is 18,000 gold up, and it isn't mattering. There we go. Player damage. Top 2 are both on the side of the Banished. So this is a barn burner.
It really is. We do have to be careful about this. We're 61 minutes in, as I said. The fight can go anywhere. It looks like Kappa Corp are engaging with the Blink, Geb ult, and Poseidon ult. Not enough to kill the Artemis. Artemis ult does come through and does get the beads onto the Thanatos. Thanatos going up into the air. It looks like he doesn't care about his beads. They're being down. He's going to land. He hits 3. He misses his target onto the Artemis and does end up falling. Artemis living with 1 HP, whereas Thanatos does end up dying. It's a 4v5 fight. But it looks like Left Phoenix might go down here to fire minions. Artemis is on her way as fast as she can. Will she clear it in time? Hopefully. It doesn't look like it, though.
High risk, high reward play by the Thanatos, and it looks like they do not get the reward they were looking for. Down for a full 90 seconds at this point in time. This might be an EFG for the Banished, even though they lost that Left Phoenix.
It might be, but it looks like Morgan Le Fay is just out of position here. Kind of get ran at by the Cernanos, and it looks like Susano going in, getting baited, and dies for it too. Ends up getting both relics onto the CERN, but was it worth it? It is now a 4v4 fight for the next 40 seconds. Thanatos spawning up here soon, but both junglers being dead. It looks like Kappa Corp, 2 people on their side. It looks like their tanks are pushing in, but it looks like Disco finds the Raijin lazy backing, or as I should say, window shopping, and just gets a free kill as the tanks kind of just get that mid Phoenix for free.
You cannot underestimate the ADC damage from the Poseidon. He's built Bruiser. He's not even building auto attack, and he can still shred a Phoenix this late into the game. You gotta respect it.
Definitely, and we can't be lazy lazybacks or window shopping in a set that is this long of 63 minutes. If you get caught window shopping or you get caught lazy backing, that could spell a game. Raijin being dead for 45 seconds and Susano is still dead, but 5 members of Kappa Corp have the FG and are spawned. It looks like they're going to get this beacon again. And honestly, I don't know what number beacon this is, but if I'm being honest, this probably spawns Titan, and that's why they're not going to cap it. Instead, they're going to run it down and try and get that right Phoenix. If I was Kappa Corp here, I would not care about right Phoenix. It is 64 minutes in. Everyone, run in there, use your ults, use your dashes. We are taking. Looks like Thanatos and the Poseidon ult are going to land onto the Morgan. Great beads being used. Is it enough to live? No, it's not. Thanatos gets the kill. They do get the right side Phoenix as well. Thanatos is looking pretty low, but great Geb shell coming through. Getting that Phantom Shell on all 5 of his members. Man, I can't remember the last time I was supporting I did that.
Yeah, the call for the right Phoenix is a little bit suspicious, but I mean, they're just playing it slow. There's still 4 members up. The
No, now there's 4 members up. There was 3 members up at the time because the Susano and Raijin were still dead. You have to remember, as you were saying, this Poseidon does a lot of damage. He could have ulted the Titan. This Geb going in, kind of blinking onto this Artemis. This is the call to just hit the Titan with everything that they can, and it looks like Raijin getting blown up, having to use his Aegis, and Titan still kind of just living, not really taking all too much damage, but ends up falling finally to Kappa Corp. Kappa Corp take game 2 in 65 minutes. It looks like they're just scared, if I'm being honest here, Pepper. Both teams, as you were saying, just scared of each other, not trusting the damage that they do. It is 65 minutes. At the 40-minute marker, roughly the 35-minute marker, if you have a 3k pot, anyone that is a full damage dealer shreds the Titan.
Yeah, I suspect, at least on the side of Kappa Corp, there was a little bit of a mental impact from game 1, influencing their decision making. The choice to take it slow, to not overextend, probably a result of the Maman getting caught out repeatedly game 1, and they just didn't want that to happen again. However, overall, it did look better than game 1. Appreciate the improvement, the better comms. The Banished definitely didn't get worse either. They still had good calls, they had good defense. Just ultimately, it came down to a few good Fire Giant calls.
Few good Fire Giant calls and a few misplays being out of position. They all add up, especially 60 minutes into the game. That was a very long one here, Pepper. We are going to take a short break before going into the game 3. I don't know about you, but my legs are dead. But don't worry, folks. Don't worry, gamers. We are going to start this game 3 very soon before we continue. That English was fucked. Before we...
Hello, it's been a long, long time. Can't get you off my tired mind. Shadow, let the tape rewind and finally ease my anxious eyes. Oh no, I feel you creeping in, my body bleeding sin. I'm drowning. Heaven, can you save me now from these thoughts inside my head? Yeah, you are the devil running through my mind. I can't get on your level. I swear to God I tried. I am not at this spell. Turn around and get ahead. You can't hurt me anymore. Oh my God, you are the devil. So hard to save. Hallowed by my love for you, always stop me going under. Follow every step I take, 'cause our walls are coming down. God, you are the devil running through my mind. I can't get on your level. I swear to God I tried. I am not at this spell. Turn around and get ahead. You can't hurt me anymore. Oh my God, you are the devil. Stuck in the back of my head and I'm dead. I got the devil inside me and everything I seems red. Vision's blurry, I'm in a hurry, my skin is starting to shed quick. Call up the doctor, swallow some pills, maybe I'll wake up in bed. I'm a disaster, can I move faster? Honey, I'm over the edge. No point in stopping me, I'm not your property, gotta take care of my ledge. My friends are dead, I'm losing my head, I gotta get off of these meds. I am unstable, willing and able, give you this body to pledge. Oh my God, you are the devil. Oh my God, you are the devil.
Yeah, I'm nervous on the surface, I look fine. My brain feels heavy, my traumatized mind. And I'm so tired, I can't feel my eyes. Whoa, whoa. I'm petty, but I know how to lie. I feel feelings that I can't describe. I'm not breathing, but I'm still alive. Whoa, whoa. But I think I'll be alright, 'cause I'm not giving up, I'm not giving up yet. I feel that it's my time, so I'ma give it everything. I'ma give it everything I got. So I'ma give it everything, I'ma give it everything I got. I'ma give it everything, I'ma give it everything I got. have hope. So many days have passed. I wait around for things to change, but change has not come fast. I'm asking all the questions, but then I question them. Like,
Just
what's the
happening
point
in the
of living
game,
existing
right?
when
Like
you
I
can't see
can't.
a God in flesh? I'm looking for the answers. They say to pray instead. I think I'll find them one day, but with a helping hand. I know that it's not easy, but I believe I will. Yeah, I'll get over all my fears and
Fight
really
goes
conquer
on,
everything.
talk about like you don't have to say abilities being used, but like what they're doing, right? What's up, Ryu? Mhm. Okay. Oh, we are back for a game 3. I apologize about that. A little bit of a longer break this time between game 1 and 2, but definitely needed for us. We are watching here the game of Kappa Corporation versus the Banished. Game 1, going to the Banished. Great game. Happened very fast and ended pre 30 minutes. Whereas this one in game 2 happened for 65 minutes, but Kappa Corporation finally turn it around and take the win. Game 3. This is for all the marbles. Who's going to win and who is going to take this win in the set of SCL? As
Me.
we're gonna load it.
I don't care which team wins, but I'm winning.
As long as I win, it's perfectly fine.
Uh,
But loading into these bands here, definitely just gonna have to look at what we want versus what we don't want to see. And it looks like this Ganesh is just not allowed to be picked up at all. The Banished are absolutely terrified of having a Ganesh being played. Just first banning it every game now going into game 3. And it looks like Kappa Corp were annoyed with the Morgan Le Fay. Understandable, brings a lot of AoE into that fight and a lot of damage going on to the side of the enemy team. It just brings so much to you.
yeah, the Morgan was a target ban game 1, same as the Rat. And we let it through game 2 to ban something else and noticed it was definitely worth banning game 1 and threw it back up there.
Definitely, definitely. I understand that completely. They had a great showing on this Morgan Le Fay, even though they were getting ganked off cooldown in the solo lane from a Thanatos and Poseidon, which, by the way, Poseidon and Athena are both up. Chernobog, Ratatoskr, and Mammon being banned instead. So that is two very good gods, Poseidon and Athena being up. Which one is the side of the Banished going to take? If I'm them, I would run back the Athena. It's perfectly fine. Loshak did great on this Poseidon. I wouldn't take it from him though. I would definitely take the Athena because the Athena did them well in game number 1. And they actually end up going for this Athena, whereas Poseidon and Alpwash are still on the table. But it's looking like he's going to opt for the Poseidon on the side of Kappa Corporation, which is 100% understandable. The Loshak had a great performance on this Poseidon.
Yeah, I definitely agree that the Athena does have a lot more impact than the Poseidon does. It can pressure multiple lanes at once. Even just with the threat of the ult without using it can be enough to stop a gank. And if you do use it, you can get a return kill. The jungler fouls up, make it a 3v2. Ooh, Xibalanque coming in. That's an interesting pickup number 2.
Yeah, especially for this Kappa Corporation. I have been saying about this X Ball for game 1 and 2. The lights out is just such a strong ultimate. And it looks like they're going to opt for Baron on the side of Banished, following that X Ball and Poseidon pickup, which is very different, I would say. There are much better pickups here. And Donzenborough being followed up, it looks like they're just going to try and opt for their first team that they drafted in game number 1, leaving the Thanatos getting picked up again by this Kappa Corporation by Red Pepper. He had a great showing on this Thanatos. A little awkward ults going in by himself. Does have to be careful with that going into game 3, but definitely was a good showing.
Yeah, the Thanatos, not sure if it's worth a ban, but it is a good pickup here. I suspect the Donza is a comfort pick for the ADC. They did pick it game one. They were pretty good at it. Lack of jungle pressure from Kappa Corp means they probably could have done good on almost any ADC, but even so, the Donza was clean. The Baron, I'm not sure how much I stand by the Baron here. If it's in solo, I don't think it's great into the Poseidon. It's essentially free setup for the Kraken whenever you ult. And if it's in mid, it's immobile and it's hard to survive the Thanatos ganks.
Definitely are gonna have to be careful on this Baron as we rapid fire bans coming through once again from the Banished, banning away two Guardians, which is that Geb, Kepri, two very strong backline Guardians that just keep people alive, reviving them or giving them a bunch of shells. Whereas Kappa Corporation end up banning away junglers, Humbats, and Susano. Don't want to deal with that Susano again, just coming in and cleaning up kills. Whereas they're gonna pick up the Maui and tell you, hey, I'm gonna drop an island on your Donzenboro or Baron's head, and they can't get away as they don't have a dash.
Maui, a little bit more surprising of a pickup. It's a very different play style from the Geb, in my opinion. You do still have the giant CC ult and decent peel, but it's a bit more aggressive.
Definitely is a little bit more aggressive, which is perfectly fine for the comp that they already have. They have the Poseidon that's always been aggressive. Same with the Thanatos, and Maui's been following them, or I should say Geo has been following them this whole time, especially in game number 2, being in the front with them. And that's probably why they picked up the X-Ball, so they can help dash in and just be in that front line with them again. They were probably going to see more aggression coming out in game 3, as it looks like they're going to be picking up the Thor on the side of the Banished along with the Thoth. Thoth game 1 had a great showing, and same with the Athena. They're basically running back the exact same team, not counting the Baron and the Thor though, as they opted for the Sun Wukong and the Bastet last time. They could have had the exact same team as game 1 if they wanted to, but opting for two different picks. Hey, as I always say, if it's not broken, don't fix it.
I do stand by the switch to the Thor over the Bastet, especially because the Thanatos is semi-global. The Thor matches that pressure very effectively. I don't think the Bastet would have worked as well here.
We will see these ults coming in. As you said, that Thanatos is that semi-global, and same with the Thor. Usually you would like to see either one of them, as long as they're landing that ult to get that stun going off, or Thanatos getting that ult hit and actually just killing somebody that is in execute range, it could spell defeat for one of the teams. Persephone getting picked up at the end here to round off the draft. Persephone didn't have too much of a good showing game 1. I guess they're going to try it again in game number 3. Could have opted for that Discordia again. I think they did great on Discordia. Could have had that red buff on them as well on the Poseidon and the Thanatos. Helped out the team. Great too to disrupt team fights, especially since all of them don't have dashes except for this Thoth and Thor, really. Um, Definitely with that ult to say can't come near me, but we'll see how it plays out loading into game number 3. Based on the team comps, which one do you like more?
Um, it's a little bit tough. I gotta say, I do like the Banish's team comp more. It's a lot heavier on the CC. The jungle fights are gonna be a lot easier. They have the Donzaton, the Thor wall, Athena taunt, Baron ult, and then of course the Thoth just pumping damage. Um, I think they're gonna win the team fights hand over fist. But if Kappa Corp can get a few picks with this Persephone Maui combo or with the Thanatos and Poseidon, I think they can still take it.
Definitely, it all comes down to the execution on who can play the comp better. Going into game number 3, winner takes it all. Kappa Corporation versus the Banished. I'm gonna find out who takes it And who can say they're the better team at the end of the day, especially with, as you were saying, with this Thanatos Poseidon combination, it's going to be nice. And as I was saying in game number 1 and 2, the lights out by X-Ball, just a strong ultimate, especially since we went Thor on the Banished. Can't really see anything when you're up in the air. And having your Thanatos just land on whoever they want, and no one knowing on the Banished side who he's going to be landing on. Definitely going to have to be careful for this on the side of the Banished with that ultimate.
Whether that combination actually gets executed remains to be seen. But if they do pull it off, it will be very effective.
That's understandable as we're going to be loading into this game. Builds not so different this time. Everyone kind of opting for the exact same items, even down to the starters. The only thing that's a little different is that Athena compared to the Maui opting for that benevolence, whereas Athena opting for the Sentinels. Both very strong starters, but I like the benevolence pickup by this Maui to go into that heroism so that anyone that gets taunted by this Athena is gonna get a shield.
Yeah, that benevolence into the heroism had a massive impact on the Geb last game, and I think they realized it. I think it's a great idea.
Definitely one of the better pickups this time, and it looks like the side of Kappa Corporation lose out on the speed XP of the big minion. That is very unfortunate for both the mid laner and the solo laner. But hey, great for the Thanatos. He gets some more XP for himself, and it's a large minion for him. Whereas Persephone's hoping to get some of this wave for herself before Thanatos rotates in. Not going to happen, though, as the Thor and Thoth were just a little too slow on the clear.
Now, I suspect the biggest impact here is going to be on that Poseidon. Probably struggle to hit 2, going to take longer to hit 3, and Baron puts on a decent amount of pressure if he can't counteract it at all.
Definitely. Missing the Scythe onto this Thanatos is very dangerous. Thoth having his dash up level 2 is very nice, but not going to have that mid lane pressure as they would like because that Thanatos is level 3 early because of that extra XP.
Remains to be seen if the Thanatos will do much with it. Taking duo side camps might come over for the prop buff and to pressure onto this Don's Burrow. And he goes for the camp. All 3 lanes stalemating. Thor is in solo, looking to pressure out the Poseidon. Not much fighting going on at this point in time.
Everyone kind of just playing a little bit more far back, kind of playing by the book, which I like to see a little bit more often here. Kind of Thor looking to engage onto this Poseidon here, trying to get something, but it doesn't look like anything's going to happen. Thor just kind of losing out on time and farm here as his back camps are spawning. It looks like he's going to opt for that instead of anything else, as Poseidon's just a little too close to the tower and no eyes on that Thanatos. Stun coming through onto this Donzenboro. Not enough damage, though, for him to worry about beadsing or having to get out. Meditation coming through onto this Athena, though. Trying to keep herself and the Donza healed up a little bit. Taunt missing its mark, but that's okay. Whereas Thanatos is looking for an invade onto this blue buff. Still a level higher than this Thor. Thor's got to be a little careful here. Baron's rotating in, and so is the Poseidon.
Oh, blue gets stolen by the Thanatos Scythe. That should do a decent bit of work to get the Poseidon back into the running in solo lane. The Poseidon's positioning, especially from behind, has been very good. Hasn't been caught out by the Thor, hasn't been pushed out and forced to back. And overall, he's really coping with the mistakes that happened in level 1.
Definitely doing pretty well, positioning a little bit better, and it looks like, this extra XP from this Thanatos is just kind of helping out, putting that Baron a little bit behind now, and same with the Thor. I think if that Thor just wanted to wall off the Thanatos scythe a little earlier, that probably would have secured the blue buff much sooner if he just put up that wall and just denied the throw of the Thanatos one, as it doesn't go through walls, and that includes Thor wall.
I think it should.
And you think it should go through walls in general, or
I
just
think they should double
player-made
the
walls?
range, and it should go through all walls.
Ah, double the range and go through walls, eh? I like it. I like it. It should be a Thoth one with his wall in front of him. Give it to me. More damage.
I don't know. I think Thanatos could use a buff. I think they should double the healing on the scythe. I think the execute threshold should go up to 60% instead of 40. I don't know. He's just kind of weak right now, you know.
Oh yeah, for sure. Not doing a percent health damage or anything at all. As this pause is quite long, but it looks like they unpause it finally here as we getting back into the game. A little bit slower. Again, just the Thor kind of farming up. Looks like he drops red buff and speed buff by himself. Thoth not really getting any of that XP. And it looks like shield buff is going to be contested here, whereas both lanes of this duo side lose a lane to regular minions, just losing out on that bonus XP because they wanted to go for those extra camps. I don't know about you, but lane minions kind of give more XP than 2 camps.
Yeah, the lane minions, especially this early in the game, do have a very big impact on your leveling. That said, the duo side, Kappa Corp did get the prop buff, but they are level 5 to the red teams, or to the blue team's level 4. Hopefully they can get a kill here before they hit level 5, but it doesn't look like it's gonna happen.
Yeah, it's definitely a big level for duo, where the second they hit level 5, you have a very short span of time where you have the ult advantage and they don't. Quick taunt, a little bit of damage. What's more interesting is in right lane, a gank onto Loshak and a quick kill. The global coming through from ultimate, or the global ultimate coming through from Thor.
Yeah, the Thor ult onto the immobile Poseidon probably gonna have a big impact to this game. Poseidon very easily camped now that the Thor is level 5, level 6. Meanwhile, the Baron a little bit harder with that CC immune ult to do anything for the Thanatos.
Yeah, and I think this is going to be a relatively quiet part of the game. Maybe a little bit of poke in the middle lane. Both of these being relatively long-range poke gods, but they're just looking to farm it out right now. A little bit of an invade starting to appear in right lane, though, with the Thanatos looking for this blue.
Blue buff already having been stolen once before. This should help offset the kill. Oh, and an Athena ult comes in. That is rather big, should help secure it. And blue gets stolen anyway by the Kraken. Big commitment for that little bit of XP and gold. But you can't underestimate. Ooh, a lot of damage from the Thanatos ult. It appears everyone is going to get out alive as Persephone rotates over for safety. But that's a win for the Kappa Corp right there. Ult from the Persephone, the Baron is slowed, crippled, and dead to the Persephone.
Yeah, I wasn't quite expecting the rotation from the Persephone, and what they had to realize is they either needed beads, ult, or auto down that tether, because otherwise they literally cannot walk out of that giant circle. So in that case, it looks like they might have had their ult up. That probably would have kept them alive, but just not expecting it and finding themselves in with the death timer.
Not great, especially because the Baron doesn't have a teleport, so loses lane pressure, loses the totem, the cooldown buff, and about a full wave of minions. That's going to do a lot to put Poseidon on top. Fight in the duo lane, looks like the Jubelke gets out. Has to burn the beads to live, though, susceptible to a Thor gank. But it looks like Thor doesn't have that in mind. Headed towards the Poseidon again.
I think what he's looking at is he's looking at this Poseidon, who the last time he was on this character, I think every time he's played made solos, he's actually gone teleport first. A little bit of engagement though. The ult pulling him out. Gonna look to ult out. Doesn't get in, and he's gonna find himself dying to the Thanatos, who then cleans up the second kill with the help of Xbalanque. Very
Interesting.
unfortunate engagement for them.
Interesting choice not getting in. Probably could have lived there. Outran the Thanatos ult, not get executed. Yeah, but that's a double kill. That is more golden XP for Kappa Corp. Meanwhile, Thor looking for a gank. Double ult in the solo lane on the Poseidon. And dead. Kraken is down. Doesn't do much for him though. And that's gonna really have an impact here.
Yeah, and that goes back to the point I was talking about earlier, where this solo lane mage is very, very squishy, doesn't have any Fizzdy online, is very susceptible to this gank, and because of his teleport choice, doesn't even have beads to try and get out of that situation. So what they're looking for is they're looking to pull him in for guaranteed with the Baron ult, and then Thor dunk on and just full combo, has no ability to play the game. So he kind of has to either keep this side of the jungle pretty well warded to feel safe, or he just has to accept that sometimes if the Thor decides that I'm dead, I have to hope he misses, because I'm pretty much dead the second he lands.
Yes, it looks like Kappa Corp is compensating by getting pressure in the duo lane. Both the ADC and support up a level. Hopefully that's going to matter more. Oh, Athena ult coming out. Baron gets out alive. Ult doesn't do much. Just waits the gank, maybe stops a tower dive, but ultimately nothing really happens. Resources being wasted, maybe a second gank will come in and clean up. But it looks like they're just going back to farming.
Yeah, it's definitely the case where a relatively decent gank, but getting out with about 20% health in the Athena, well, securing his ability to back. Might lose a little bit of gold to tower, but ultimately not that big a deal when you get so much invested into you.
Bit of a slow game here. Hopefully, doesn't mean it's gonna go as long as the other one. We'll have to see what happens. What do you think they have to do to get a lead here? I don't really think Gold Fury is on the table quite yet.
I think both sides are really looking to play through their junglers right now, using that semi-global and global presence to kind of engage around the map. I do think blue team has a little bit more of an advantage and is doing the same thing to solo lane. Again, no beads, no Fizzdy, no life. Thor deciding that he wants to camp this lane and keep the Poseidon down. Maybe they felt like he was the problem, and they're making sure that they handle him this game.
I definitely think that's the right choice. Poseidon had a massive impact last game. So shutting him down, especially without the beats, which I definitely agree is a critical error. I think the Thor is doing great. It's a lot of extra gold, a lot of extra XP, 2 levels up on the Thanatos. Ooh. Thanatos fighting 1v2 for blue, and ults out and lives on about 10 HP.
Yeah, a little bit off the mark. Looking for a very, very greedy invade in a 1v2, and being two levels down from the opposing Thor. Thought it was a good idea to walk in, and soon found out that that was not the case, eating a full combo and almost dying for that, getting out with a very small amount of health bar.
If I recall correctly, I believe I was at 12 health when I got in the air. Let's see, what are the Banished going to do with this global ult being down? There's not a lot of things that they have to be afraid of at this point. There's not very many ganks that are options.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those situations where they have the choice to do anything, but if you look right now, like, there's not really much to take if you're not willing to pull an objective. There's only purples up and those are about to drop. So it pretty much comes down to either looking for the pick to start an objective or just pulling the objective and heat checking them, seeing if they have vision, seeing if they show up to defend the you from just taking it from under their noses.
Yeah, damage checking the Gold Fury is definitely an option. However, I think their best option here is to fight in the mid lane. Thana gets poked out and dies. And that is a lot of pressure for this beacon. There's not much that Kappa Corp can do to get them off of this now.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what they were looking for. Was there's an objective that just came up. Beacon, one of the easier things to fight over compared to Gold Fury or Fire Giant, and did end up finding that pick. They didn't even have to use his global ultimate to find it. But they'll come back from it. As of right now, it's still an even game. Gold's within 200 of each other, and we're still playing it out relatively slow. No Gold Furies or Fire Giants being played yet.
Given the Thoth ult and the amount of damage it does to secure a Gold Fury, I'd like to see a Thor ult on this Xbalanque, kill them, and then pull the objective. I think it's a great way for them to snowball into the mid game. It looks like he's ulting into the mid instead. Ult on the Persephone beads, and Thoth ult down. And Thor has to bead and A gets to live. And somehow he ult down, misses, and Thor gets out by the skin of his teeth. Oh, and he's dead to the Thana ult. He gets executed. Athena's not Thana. Thoth. This is what Thoth is. Oh, Thoth gets out.
And a very nice taunt, but
Oh,
still ends up
come on.
finding their death. The movement speed from speed buff, getting them just close enough for a max range sight. Ends up finding the kill, but all of that really started with a pretty good engage, but a very nice beads from the Persephone, finding the jump over top of the Thoth ult coming through. And so they invested a lot of damage and couldn't quite find the damage, and then all of a sudden, Persephone turns around and it's a two people, Persephone and Maui, turning around, dealing a ton of damage, and almost finding the kill, some abilities off the mark, but coming in late is that Thanatos, ulting in, finding one, and then later finding the second, turning that team fight into a very, very good one for the Kappa Corporation.
Yeah, I think with the both teams having the semi-global jungler, it's all gonna come down to the counter engage. I don't think the first engage is the play here, because and there's a fight in duo. Purple buff being secured by the Banished. Fight over the blue in solo. And Thor is dead to the Thana ult and the follow up. Baron half health. Looks like he's going to get out with the Athena ult. Living. Poseidon in the hot seat if he gets caught out, and everyone backs up, goes back to their farm.
Yeah, taking simultaneously 2v2s on the opposite sides of the map. Support and ADC on one side, jungle and solo on the other, and Athena late rotating in after the fight on both sides have resolved, trying to get a solo laner out. But right now, we're kind of looking at a little bit of scraps back and forth, but nothing's really being fought over, so there's no real leads being generated. Right now, it's just like 2,000 going on 3,000 for the Kappa Corporation, finding a very, very slight advantage, but the game is still relatively even. Nothing's really going to happen until these objectives start getting picked up by either team.
Yeah, the tower down in mid for Kappa Corp, the tower down in duo for the Banished should open up some pressure for these objectives if they want to pull it. The damage from the ADCs at this point in time is, and also from the Thoth, to be honest, means that a Pyro or a Gold could be very quickly. Thorwall gets the Athena out, and they are living. It appears there might be a gold call, probably a call for the Donza instead. And it appears the Donza is going to get out alive. Thanatos ult coming in. Who's he going to go on? He goes on the Donza, gets beat Aegis. The Thor ult comes in, steals out. Thanatos beads are down. Donza ult is down. Everything is being burned, and yet no one is dying.
It's very quickly turning into a 5v5, but very low health bars on the side of blue, eating a lot of damage from the Xbalanque. Big Persephone ult coming through. They're all tethered. Nobody's autoing it, so they're all stuck here into all of the damage. Maui ult, a returned kill from the Thoth, but big circle ultimates, finding 2 kills for the Kappa Corporation. And the fight seems to be relatively over here, but still relatively full health bars for Kappa Corporation. Might look to turn this into a Gold Fury, with only one walking up.
no Jubilanke, but Poseidon still does damage. I don't believe that the Baron can steal very easily. The Thoth ult, on the other hand, is an option. Thanatos going on the Baron. Athena ult coming in to save his life. And Kappa Corp secures the gold fury. Thoth dashes in. Does he get caught out and die for it? Looking safe for the time being, and he is gone.
Yeah, it does end up finding death. Probably running into the issue which often happens with certain Guardian abilities. Probably got tethered, thought he was going to dash backwards, and then just got like a weird dash in a direction he didn't expect. Probably didn't want to go in, but found himself in the middle of the enemy and tried to make something out of it.
Definitely an unfortunate circumstance. That is, I believe, 3 for 1 on the side of Kappa Corp. They also get Gold Fury and the Stygian, and now they pull a Pyro. This is a massive gold lead that they're going to be building. Help them get to the mid game. Thor coming in. Does he steal? He misses. And the Poseidon ult off-timed, but still gets secured. That's at a 4,500 gold lead for Kappa Corp. No objectives short of Fire Giant on the map.
And just as we were talking about it, Red Team deciding that we're going to find the fight, turn that into every objective on the map, and even takes the extended fights afterwards with people showing up to try to defend the Gold Fury, finding the better end where they get both of the objectives, Gold Fury and Pyromancer, as well as a few picks on the back end and the initial picks at the start of the fight. We were talking, they're about 3k up, and now they're almost 5k, looking to push that lead further, but a very slow period as, like you said, nothing really on the map except for that Fire Giant.
Another thing to note is that Poseidon rotating to these fights means that it's a lot harder for him to get camped by the Thor, which means that he can farm up, stay even with the Baron, and the Thor can't get a massive lead from kills.
Yeah, a little bit of a look on Thanatos' part, looking to fight this. What is currently a 2v2, but they don't really have the vision to be able to tell that, I don't think. Junglers kind of spot each other out, decide maybe this isn't so great idea, as the Athena starts rotating over, but they are kind of hanging around a little bit looking for this purple buff. And blue team, we'll see if they decide to commit ults to this, or if they're looking to get out.
Farm being stolen. Athena alone. Thor ults in the air. Who does he land on? Thanatos in the air, I believe. Oh, no, he is not.
Yeah, a little bit of usage of ultimates on both sides. Trying to find kills, but both sides not really finding a strong enough fight to turn it into anything. Kind of just use abilities, and we're backing off. Actually, in solo, looks like they didn't even have to use any ultimate. They did look for the pressure. They're actually not going to bomb this.
Looking for a tower. That is 2 ults down, Baron and the Athena. And it looks like they're going to get out anyway. Probably scared that the Baron was going to get turned on. Might even have gotten turned on without the Athena ult. But everyone lives.
And right now, just posturing around the Fire Giant, but that is a beast from the Persephone. The only saving grace is that Thor ult is still down, but it's very shortly coming back up. Might have to play it a little bit safe, else they find a Thor landing on their face with no recourse. That being said, it's still being farmed out relatively slowly, but I do think as things start to come up, as the Pyro comes up, as the Gold Fury comes up, we might see a little bit more fighting over those objectives coming out of red, but happy to just keep their 5,500 gold lead and just try to farm it out for a bit.
Kappa Corp, realizing they ran out of the smaller objectives to get, decided to make their own by pushing down the solo tower. Not much happening until like you said, until the objectives come back up because it's a bit early for the fighter. But grouping for this mid fight, it appears they're going to push down the tier 1. That will really help open up the map for these objectives that are coming up.
Speaking of objectives, Gold Fury just spawning, deciding to invest the Shibble ult to make that T1 a bit more free, but not going to have this for what may be an upcoming engagement as Blue looks to defend the Kappa Corp on the Gold Fury.
Thor ult for the team fight, and Thoth ult. Thoth ult comes in and steals the Primal. And this fight quickly goes from good to bad for Kappa Corp. Thor ult in the air, kills the Poseidon, the Thanatos. Thanatos dead to the Zombie Girl. This is a 2-for-1.
big damage being traded back and forth. We're seeing Fallen actually dashing in, a little bit aggressive, but definitely not as bad a fight as you'd expect given how that fight started. And blue team is going to end up with that Gold Fury, the Thoth ult coming through, hitting the Gold Fury and hitting 2, putting that critical health levels before the fight even starts. That being said, it's now kind of turned into this 2 for 2, with both sides on the kill side coming out even, and a little bit of a greed for the purple, but doesn't end up being punished for it. Actually, an Athena ult in might actually get this Maui killed for the sins of his ADC. Ends up falling. A little bit greedy of an invade. Could have just walked away, but blue team punishing them for that mistake.
Yeah, definitely overstaying his welcome. Thoth ult burned means that it's not up for this fight, but the Stygian is going to get taken by the Athena. Regardless. And Poseidon gets there in time. So the Athena is off. They're taking that objective, and then Pyro is on the menu next for whichever team wins.
Yeah, it looks like blue team taking a very extended team fight, decided to farm up the map. Looking now to contest. We'll see if this ends up turning into a full-blown team fight, but they do have to stand in that circle to delay the timer. Does end up going to red with a Thorol in the back, trying to get in, silenced out of his hammer, gets Kraken, and ends up falling. A little bit of a low health, beads, but eats the Thoth ult, does not have access to the Aegis, and an ult coming in from the Thanatos. A lot of damage traded in return. Thoth being pulled back by the Maui, pulled into some damage, but isn't ending up dying, manages to dash out, and ultimately a 1-for-1 solo traded for jungle.
Looks like the Pyro is being called by the Kappa Corp, making their best of this previously even team fight. Athena ult coming in, Maui diving the backline, and the Banished blue team steals the Pyro. Unfortunate for Kappa Corp.
Yeah, I do think in that situation, it was actually a relatively 50-50. There was no big mage ultimates on either side, so it was kind of just whoever got the best read on when the Pyromancer hit low threshold, and the Stemma on this Baron, finding it with the 1, just walking in and securing that for his team.
Alright, Titans are pushing down left lane. 5 of the T1s on the map are down. This is a very open game at the moment. Again, it is back to almost even, 2,000 gold lead for Kappa Corp. And a lot of it's going to come down to this fight. If one team can burn the Titan, push down a T2, maybe a Phoenix if they get lucky with the 2 kills. A lot of it's hinging on this moment.
I think what Kappa Corporation are finding is they were in the lead, had control, but they were actually Thorol committed. They're just probably going to sit under this tower, a counter ult from the Thanatos, but probably nothing happening here. Both teams just going to use some ultimates. But ultimately, blue team having this Titan, looking to push down the T1. There is a split push on the other side, so right now this is a 5v4 with the Titan. They do end up both backing, so it's now a 4v4. It doesn't look like they're even going to get this T1. Just barely getting it with the Titan. Smacking it down, has very big autos.
Overall, a good call from Kappa Corp, split pushing that solo lane T2, realizing they're not going to have the pressure because the Banished made it there first to the Titans. Don't get the T2 in trade for the T1, so a bit unfortunate there. But Gold Fury is being pulled, an objective being forced. Neither jungler has ult up with which to dive the backline, so it's all going to come down to how this Maui and Athena zone the other team.
I think that drop ultimately forced because the big confirm for the Banished is this Thoth ult, and he was on the opposite side of the map defending that split push, so until he got back, they actually couldn't really confirm that in front of a Poseidon who has Kraken. So deciding to kind of bring it down to about 30% health, but then ultimately kind of just walking in circles and then dropping it because they couldn't confirm it. We are soon starting to dance around the Gold Fury. No team really positioning to quite take it, but definitely in the area, maybe looking for some picks before deciding to pull it. Because again, both teams having pretty good mage ultimates between Kraken and Thotholt to secure it for their own side. So we're almost reaching the point where neither team really wants to pull the objectives because they aren't confident that they can secure their own objective. So they're gonna look for these picks instead, just hover around, and the Banished slightly more grouped positioning for this objective.
Interesting, 27 minutes in. Oh, Thanatos gets taunted, takes a lot of damage from the Thaw. Teamfight goes back to a stalemate. There's currently no beacon to fight over, but the gold cherry is still there. And it looks like it's going to be pulled. Now he gets taunted into minimal damage, given the amount of tankiness that he has. Gets poked out by the Thaw. And just kind of a slow burn.
Yeah, playing it a little bit safe there, not having the vision through the Shibboleth ult, but now the Thor trying to prepare, either for the team fight it looks like, dropping the objective fully.
Thanatos in the air as a counter ult, Thor lands back by his team. And now both ults are out again. Cold Fury pulled, Thaw looking to secure. And they, not great secure, but they do get it. And everyone backs up to go back to farming.
A little bit early on the charge, but Thotholt is a little bit hard in the respect that in order to get that full damage, you do have to charge it out, but damage happening in the mid lane. Some damage going on at Thanatos got caught out a little bit too far from his team, and actually we saw him use his beads in mid, didn't have them for that, presumably a Thor wall, Athena taunt, and finds himself dead.
Interesting that all of this posturing is over the gold fury. I'm surprised that no one's trying to pull fire this late into the match. But it looks like we're heading over to Pyro, and they managed to secure that as well. Maui getting poked out, and Thor dies to the Poseidon and the Jubilanke in mid lane.
Thor going a little bit too deep, going straight in front of the Shibalanke, who's swinging big damage. Might have hit him with a few crits, having 2 crit items. And yeah, pushing a little bit too far in front of his team, who are all focused on the Maui on the other side, who is pretty elusive. If you can't kind of lock him down, if you throw some big burst on him, he just hits 3 and instantly goes up in the air. Kind of jukes out a lot of damage all at the same time. We've seen it a few times now, where he kind of gets poked out a little bit, hits about half health, and then they throw a lot of abilities at him, and he just kind of leaps away, and all of those abilities go into the void, getting no value at all.
It's a very limited offensive ability, but defensively it's incredibly strong when used correctly. Beacon is coming up in the mid lane. Kappa Corp appears to be grouped on that, whereas the Banished is grouping towards the Fire Giant. It's now EFG, far more valuable to whichever team gets it. And let's see how this fight develops.
Both teams kind of posturing a little bit. Probably not going to try to pull this Fire Giant in front of the other team, but maybe looking to just get good ward coverage and maybe go for the Beacon instead. Just keeping people in the area for this full 5v5 team fight. Start dancing in the late game. Both teams relatively even at about 1,000 gold apart.
Yeah, this is a very close game. Neither team has very much pressure in terms of towers or waves. No major gold or XP lead. It's all gonna come down to just like last game, a decisive team fight. Thor is in the air, dives onto the mid laner. Thanatos in the air, lands, executes the Thor, and then immediately dies to the Thoughtful. Kraken on Donza. Donza brings both relics and still dies. Thoth dead to the Poseidon. Meanwhile, Persephone dead in the backline. Athena getting collapsed on.
So for a 4-for-2, Kappa Corporation finding a lot of damage. Thor getting a lot of good early actives damage, but taking a little bit too much in return, getting landed on by the Thanatos. The Fothol coming through and crushing the Thanatos almost from full, just instantly disappearing from the map. But then the extended team fight afterwards, they find a lot of damage, and they're looking to push down this Phoenix with their wave. Poor Zed and the Fountain going to end up finding it.
Great call by the Kappa Corp here, knowing in the 3v1 they can secure it with very little risk, even if Baron ults them. Cleans up the T2 in duo lane, and then presumably backs up the set for EFG.
A little bit
That
risky.
Phoenix is gonna matter.
Yeah, a little bit risky here. The Thor was actually walking out of base with ult up. So if he did want to, he could have just instantly ran out, kind of ran straight at them and started looking for the fight. And even now, some lazy backs coming out where they're going to try to find this, and he might get caught out.
That's a lot of damage, and the Jubilanke popped. Fire Giant getting the assist there, actually doing a lot of damage. Honestly, without that knockup, I'm not confident that he dies there.
And it definitely comes down to no actives on that Shibalanke, getting forced the fight earlier. Did not have anything to deal with the Baron ult. He was in range, and therefore he was dead.
Fire Giant down to a quarter health, who's going to secure it, and the Banished secures the Fire Giant. Both relics down on Stephanie. Got dove by the Thor ult in the back line. Dana ult down on no one. Decides to safely land back. And Pyro's getting pulled. Thor pumping damage and secured. Baron found the ult coming up on the Persephone. Persephone beats and leaves.
And I think this is really where Barons can shine, is if you are in front of a Baron with no ultimate, he's just going to hit the 4 key, drag you from like so far out, and if you don't have a leap, you really don't have an answer for it. You're just kind of guaranteed going into his clutches and straight into his team, who will then follow up and kind of kill whoever was unfortunate enough to not have beads in front of them. And the thing is this Thor is diving in, getting a lot of those beads, setting up for the Baron to later make this play.
Geo actually stole that Oni Fury with the hook from Maui. Massive to get that further pressure. Oni Fire Wave in mid actually can single-handedly kill the Titan if left alone. So, although there's nothing up to do with that, it will counteract the pressure from this EFG, slow them down a bit and pushing down a Phoenix.
Yeah, the play there to either get the Phoenix if nobody showed up, or just draw pressure back, delay the push. And you can see, it's been quite a while on this Fire Giant, about a quarter of the duration already over, and they haven't even gotten to a T2 yet. Still kind of just poking out here and looking for an advantage. Damage onto Shibalanke here, about half of his health.
The Fire Wave is pushing up mid too. Thor back to deal with the wave, unfortunately, so we won't see the Winions today. But that means he's not here, so this is a 5v4 on this T2 defense. Ult comes out onto the Thoth, Thanatos in the air, Thoth dead in the back line. And... oh, does he live? Aegis from the Thanatos lives. Gets a double kill. Excellent peel from this Poseidon. Meanwhile, the back line, the Shibalanke and... oh, never mind, the Persephone lives. I read that kill wrong.
Yeah, pretty much
4 for 1.
Kappa Corpo, identifying correctly that the Thor was back defending the base, saw the opportunity for the 5v4 and just kind of took it, ran it down, getting 4 kills and only dropping 1 in return. It is an impactful one because that's your ADC. That's the person who's going to kind of make it easier to take down these towers. That being said, this is still a relatively free Phoenix. Going to walk in and take it, or looking to get a little bit of poke, and it looks like they're looking for the end here.
Oh, Kraken is down, Thanatos ult down, and the Thor is dead, and I think this is game.
That does look like game. Still 5 seconds until Thoth comes back up, correctly identifying that they had a very good chance to end the game. Gets the kill onto the Thor and finds the end of the game.
Great
6
call.
minutes in. So, watching that very long 3-game set, Kappa Corporation taking it over the Banished. Fallen Pepper, I know you're biased, I know you're in the game, but who would you call is the MVP of the set?
That's a tough one. Like, honestly, I think I have to give it to Raz. Um, although Kappa Corp did win that game, I don't feel like they really had a star player, but Raz Trillo on the Banished, he was honestly the biggest player for that team. I think if they have a subpar jungler, or if they put in a sub or something, I don't think game one is even close. Or I think game one is close. I don't think game two is close. I think we take that 2-0. And I think we got to give credit where credit is due.
Yeah, and I think in this game, hard to savor the entire set because I do think a lot of work being done, a lot of different players. Woshak kind of putting in work, I believe in game 2 it was. This game, Fallen and Red Pepper putting in a lot of work to make that game happen, and a lot of good Persephone ults coming over the top. But if I had to choose specifically for this game, I'd give a slight edge to Fallen, putting down top damage on his team, giving a lot of space for his team to make plays with the Shibble ult. Had a lot of good ones coming through, and definitely very, very good set between both games. Went down to the wire and ended 2-1 Kappa Corporation. Any last words before we say goodbye?
Yeah, shout out Geo for stealing the Oni.
And that'll do it for us, guys. Thanks for coming out and watching. And we're going to throw it to the end screen, throw on some music. Have a good night, everybody.
And every time I hear your voice, like my feelings